right. This is G_focus.
Focus.
We got Steph.net in the building.
What's good?
We got Rajeo in the building.
Rajeo.
And we got a special guest host with us,
How special?
Elika Bernard, that was featured on episode 6. Black is King is in the building as well. And we are the Reverb Experiment.
What episode is this, bro?
Episode number 12.
12.
Number 12. Lucky number 12. So today we got a jam-packed show for you like we always do. We are the voice of the people for the people about the culture. And we're going to get into some conversations that not a lot of people want to talk about. That's why we are here.
Elika going to make me laugh the whole episode. I already can see her out the corner of my eye. I can see her out the corner of my eye.
So today is going to be interesting. You definitely want to make sure that you listen to this episode all the way through. We want to thank all of our listeners on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, all major streaming platforms.
Cheer.
And we want to tell you that the best way to support our platform is to like, subscribe, and or follow and share our podcast with your friends and family. So that way we can get as many listeners as possible because we are here for you. Now, today we are going to be talking about the upcoming election just because this year, just like many other elections, but probably more this year, this is probably one of the most important elections that we have encountered in our lifetimes.
Oh, man.
So we want to make sure that we give you guys information, making sure that we're educated, and make sure that we know what we're doing when we are showing up at the polls. We're not going to endorse any party, but we are going to give our own opinions that are our own on themselves. Obviously, we already know how we feel about one of the candidates because he's been...
Who's that? He's been trash as fuck.
He's been in the trash segment probably for like the last 5 weeks running.
Bro, I'm going to tell you what.
Dumpster Donnie.
I'm not going to lie to you, bro. This election has made being black exhausting, bro.
Yes.
I'm tired.
It's like just...
Overly tired.
I don't know if I was supposed to say it like that, but, you know, I don't know. I'd be feeling exhausted
Just
from
because, like, they put so much pressure on us. Like, it's so
facts.
dumb.
That's facts.
Niggas, what you gonna do?
Because we the ones
Which
that always
master
do
you
our part
choosing?
of the project right. And everybody else fuck it up.
Everybody else mess it up.
We gonna do our part
We
right.
always do our part.
That's true.
The onus is not on us.
It's not. But that's what it feels
She
like.
said dumpster
Right.
Donnie, bro.
Dumpster Donnie. That might have to be the name of the episode.
Oh, my God. You just said we're not going to sway people's vote. And they're going to look at it. and
That's
they're
the
gonna say-
opinion.
That's
right?
our opinion.
And it's fact.
That ain't a sway. If you swayed by that, hey,
Hey,
good.
everybody knows what he's voting for at this point in time.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the
As
most
far
part.
as the president. As far as the other things may not. So that's why we're going to talk about it today. So we're also going to have a special guest today, Eric Harris. He is a very lengthy... We're going to get into that later.
I'm not, bro. I'm not, bro.
Eric Harris, man, he's a very good friend of mine. I'm just going to go through his list of accomplishments. I'm also going to, because since we're doing this via Zoom, he's going to be joining us a little bit later, so just give me 1 second to send him the link. But as I'm doing that, I'm going to go down some of his accomplishments. So he played on the National Championship wheelchair basketball team. He is he is an advocate for the legislation with the disability rights in California. He was a legislative advocate with the California State NAACP. He was a member of the Bay Area Outreach and Recreation Program, which is BORP. He is also intern for the United States Representatives Barbara Lee, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Also internship with the Democratic National Committee in Washington, D.C. Special advisor for strategic partnerships and community engagement. And also has been on the board of the local NAACP here in Sacramento. He also joined the Resources for Independent Living Board in Sacramento in 2019. And Mr. Harris is also a co-producer of On the Family Matters Forum radio show 97.5 and a proud member of the fraternity Phi Beta Sigma Inc.
Hey.
So we're going to have to give him a round of applause before he gets on.
Yes.
Woo!
Round of applause.
I ain't gonna lie. When I read that, when it said a co-producer, a family man, I thought he was a co-producer of the show for a minute. I was like, man, how old is Eric?
Wow.
I'd be like, why?
Wow.
I'd be like, why he didn't Ben put us on?
I'm not gonna play.
I was gonna say, man, why you have Steve, man, chasing Lord for so long, man?
For her gold digging Stefan ass.
So dumb.
Wow.
Hey man, if that was true, man, Eric's my hero, man. That was one of my favorite
Eric's
shows.
my
growing
hero
up.
too.
Yeah, so we're waiting on him to log in right now.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
Is he gonna? He's gonna be here today, right?
On Zoom, yep.
On Zoom.
Yep. So we're waiting on him to
Mm.
get on right now. All right. While
You
we're
think
waiting
he's
on
gonna
that,
remember me?
I would think so with what you said.
The behind the
Wait, you
scenes.
just gonna
So-
put it right there? You
Come
gonna like
forward.
sit it
I'm
up
gonna
so
put
we
it
can
in the
see?
middle so we can all hear. So while we're waiting, because I kind of want to get this out the way, because I know this is probably gonna be so, just because it's near and dear to my heart. I don't know if everybody's watched it. Lovecraft Country.
Okay.
Can we talk about that really quick?
Yeah.
How do we like the series? How do we like how it ended? How we feeling? Are we hoping for a second season?
Of course.
I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I didn't watch
Whatever.
We would recommend for you to watch
Right.
it.
The
It's a
reason
really
why I
good
didn't
show.
watch it is because you guys kept ruining it, and I want to watch it by myself. That's why I didn't watch it. Because every goddamn day, dude, just nigga focus. Man, did you? Spoiler alert! Like, man,
Hey, you ruined the last episode
But
for
you
me because
ruined
I
the last
have to
4
watch it. I
episodes.
had to watch it during the day. I wouldn't go watch it at the
No,
night.
I wouldn't go watch it.
So I would watch it the next morning.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh man, the finale was whack." And then I'm like, "Why would you
Kid,
say
I'm
that?"
telling
It
you,
felt
bro.
a little rushed
just
at
snooze
the
me.
end,
Just
you
snooze
know.
me.
But my favorite part,
She did just write a post about
Diana, the little mechanical arm, she choked the shit out of that
Yes.
white
Bro,
girl.
see,
I felt that in my
I'm
spirit.
gonna
I
watch
did,
it. I'm
I
gonna watch
did.
it in 6 weeks.
When she walked up and was like, "They still ain't learned." Like, you just gonna let her kill
Wait,
her
wait,
all the way.
She gonna look at her arm and go.
I was here for it. The
that
whole.
was
Rob loved it.
I loved it.
Focus loved it. Yeah.
I loved it.
I'm done with you,
It's
Rob.
not
I know I know his reviews already.
the end of the finale was very disappointing, but I believe it was probably because of COVID, so I'm not going to count it all the way against them. But
Yeah.
it was just a lot of build up, and
Yeah.
I just loved just the detail that was put into that show, just
Yes.
the Easter egg, just the Black history,
Yes.
just the
The
character development,
Yes.
the relationships
sure.
that they had with them. So it was I actually loved it. I love the show. And
What
I'm
was your
hoping for a
favorite
second season.
episode? What was your favorite
whole
episode?
The
thing.
Tulsa episode was probably my favorite
Tulsa.
episode.
Bro, that broke my.
Yeah, that
I
was
didn't
good.
like that Tick had to die. Like, why they leave us with the ain't
I'm
shit daddy?
watching the show
If
right
finally
now.
get-
I'm watching the show right now.
We
If
finally
he's
get a
dead.
good
Hold
daddy.
on. Hey, Eric,
Bro,
Eric,
let me
can
pull
you
it up
can
real
you
quick
can
so
you
I
hear
watch
us?
it during the podcast.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you too, sir. Hold on, let me turn you up a little bit, man, so we can put some. All right, man. So we just gave you the longest introduction ever.
No, he didn't. He mixed it with Lovecraft, whatever.
Because
it's
we
called.
were waiting for him to get on. So, hey, before we get on to the interview, I know you got some news. Do you want to share with everybody what your new exciting news is?
Yes, sir, man. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys. Thank you, Rob. Thank you all to your guest host, to your co-hosts.
Mm-hmm.
I found out a couple days ago and was able to announce yesterday that Governor Gavin Newsom has appointed me to the State Independent Living Council, which is a council for the entire state of California for people with disabilities. So I'm really looking forward to serving. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice,
Eric,
nice.
Eric, what does Gavin
really
Newsom
looking forward.
smell like?
Oh, man.
Does he smell like
You
baby
know what?
oil?
I know that's Elika. I know that's Elika.
He just looks like he smells like baby oil and like
I'm not doing this today with her, bro. She's gonna bring out the best
vanilla,
worst of me.
like vanilla,
He
like
do.
like musk.
Oh, my God.
She said
Too
vanilla
much.
musk.
First, congratulations, Eric, on the
Thank
major
you.
accomplishment, man. We know that you're gonna serve well for us, and we love to see
Most
people, our people, Black people, in those positions
Facts.
of power.
Yes.
So thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Hey, how many of you guys that look like you are in those positions?
Man, honestly, it's funny. I've seen the list of individuals who are on this council. I've seen the names, but I have not seen the faces
okay.
or anything like that yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing who's on it. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that it's a diverse group of folks with different backgrounds and different disabilities and different experiences that can really, speak up on these issues. So I'm looking forward to checking it out and doing what I can to serve.
Right. And if not, I know your character, and I know you would use your position to then create spaces and places for people that can have more of a voice. So I'm glad that Gavin Newsom recognized you and brought you on. So, and that's just an added bonus to, just your not checkered, but just your foundation and who you are. So without further ado, man, we definitely want to get into your interview, but before you got on, we were talking about Lovecraft Country.
Oh, yeah.
So we were just giving our we were just giving our thoughts on what we thought of the series and how we liked it. So prior to us getting into the serious stuff, man, you want to share your thoughts on the series?
Man, let me tell you. So I'm not the biggest horror fan in the world. I'm very selective about what type of horror I consume.
Eric, what does that mean? You like
Okay,
soft
look.
porn horror movies? Like it can't be too scary.
I mean, when we get to like the demons and like the
Possession,
that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm like, nah, man, I'm gonna hold off on that part. But when it's, I'm cool with like slasher,
He wants his demons concealed in human form and not exposed.
I
see.
I feel it.
I'm weak.
Hey, man, it's a little bit, but it's realistic to me. I'm like, oh, I can see that. I can see that happening.
So all the Exorcist movies, you wasn't into those. You didn't watch.
Nah, I'm cool.
I got you.
I'm cool off that.
I feel you.
But this show, man, it took me, and I'm sure everybody who watched it, on a ride that was just fun. It was terrifying. It was exciting. And man, from the first episode, we were all looking at each other like, yo, the white folks are the most evil folks in the show.
The monsters. Right?
And whether they're the biggest monsters on the show. And so,
And also,
as folks, and I know I'm talking to some educated people, some informed people. We know our history. We know this country's history and present, and I think that the show just did an amazing job at really elevating the story. Black woman director, Black folks all behind the scenes, and the story really just captured all the great actors and all the great characters. And I love how much they elevated the Black women in the story from Dee all the way up to Letty, all the way up, all across the board. The Black women were the true heroes throughout the story, and that really hit me a certain way.
Okay, I want to ask you a real question now. How much did you hate the final episode?
Man, okay, look.
He didn't even ask him if he did hate it. He just said, "How much did you hate it on a scale of 1 to 8?"
Okay, look. So I already was in line after the first probably 3-4 episodes. I was like, oh, this show is already like. I mean, they'd have to completely jump the shark or completely go off the rails for me to say that I don't like the show. Every episode just back to back was excellent. The last episode left some stuff out there to be desired, I would say. And I'll say that because I respect the folks behind the camera and in front of the camera and the story, I assume that the second season will clean up some of the stuff that was missing in that last episode.
That was a very political answer.
Focus
Thank you,
is
sir.
not feeling that.
That was a very political
shaking his
answer.
head
Hey,
the whole
I ain't
time.
mad at you because Gavin Newsom just put you on the council, so you don't want to piss nobody off. But
he was shaking his head the whole time like this guy is dancing around the equation.
I respect that answer though. So all right, so we're gonna get into the meat of the interview, the meat of this episode, because obviously we have a very important election coming up. Yes, we do have some very educated people here. You already know that Miss Elika is here. You heard that, and she was trying to ruffle your feathers a little bit. We got Rajeo here. We got Steph.net here, and obviously you have me. So the first question that we're going to talk, and obviously this is an open conversation, is can you speak to the importance of this election and what's at stake?
Before we get to that,
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Wait, Eric, can I ask you a question? Because I wasn't sure if we were
Yes.
going to talk about exactly what you're going to be doing on this council.
Oh, that's
Because
that's a
people,
good point.
hear about disability rights and things like that, but they don't actually know, to the extent of what is needed for people who have disabilities in California and in the United States. So I do want to ask you about that. And then I want to ask you a little bit about ableism and how common it is for people to be ableist unconsciously.
That's a good question.
I didn't mean to steer you.
No. I think
Okay.
that's important because you can't announce something and then not know exactly what he's going to be doing.
Yeah,
because
because sounds it's a long title, but it's like, but what does that
What does
mean?
it
Like,
mean?
what
Yeah.
exactly will you be doing on this
Because
council?
he might be working against us, so we need to make sure.
All right, so I know we're gonna talk about this a little bit later.
Sure.
But I wanted to. So first of all, as you all know, disability intersects with all aspects of community, all aspects of life. Oftentimes, Black folks, we think that we're in this fight by ourselves, and sometimes we can kind of look so far in and not feel so comfortable intersecting with other groups. I say that because disability intersects with Black folks. We know as we get older, first of all, we develop certain disabilities. We know people who have learning disabilities. We know people who have mental health disabilities, psychiatric disabilities, mobility disabilities. And so it's important that as a Black community, we recognize that disability is part of our community and that we are part of the disability community.
Right.
I know those of you who have children recognize it at certain points, whether it's with your own kids or with your kids' friends, at early stages in life with special education and other aspects when it comes to early childhood. And then there's countless other ailments that our community, the disability community, and the African American community all have. So that kind of to give an overview of Black and disability. But this council, it's an 18-member council, all appointed by the governor, representing people with disabilities throughout the state. And what we're in charge of doing, what we're responsible for doing, is advising the governor and the legislature about issues that impact people with disabilities in the state. We create projects and move forward ideas that enhance our ability to serve people with disabilities and help them live independently. That's a major issue area for people with disabilities. A lot of us just want to be able to make our own choices and live independently with some assistance that we might need, but we want to be able to make our own decisions and not depend on others to do that for us.
Got it.
And because we live in such an ableist society, it really doesn't make space for people with disabilities. Am I right or wrong about that?
That is absolutely correct. My new title at my job, I actually just got a new title at Disability Rights California. It's Strategic Partnerships for Community Engagement, SPACE, literally space. And what our objective is to create space for people with disabilities to be in community, to be in positions of power, and to make decisions that impact us. And so, that's what I've always been about. And that's what I'm continuing to work towards, creating space for the people who deserve it and the people who need it.
Nice.
So it's really important. We look at society, you talked about an ableist society. Every aspect, essentially, of American society is presented in an ableist way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to make reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities. It would already be reasonably accommodated for those people.
Right.
And Eric,
so,
like being disabled or being an able-bodied person is like being right-handed. You have so much privilege being right-handed.
That's true,
unless
'cause
you're
I don't have
left-handed.
no
You know what I'm saying?
privilege
Because everything
left-handed.
in our society is designed around people who are right-handed. And even the language we use. I've been doing a lot of like self-reflecting about ableist language I use, like with Joe Biden. Yeah, he's old, you know what I'm saying? But to make fun of him being an old person is ableist, am I right? Now, mind you, we may not want someone from his era or his generation leading because of their ideology, but that it's not because of his age. You know what I'm saying? Because there could be somebody his age who is in tune, who understands, but like making fun of his cognitive, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, he's
like I stopped
Alzheimer's and all that.
yeah,
kind of
like
stuff.
I stopped tweeting saying, "Did Joe charge his batteries?" You know what I'm saying? Like I stopped saying stuff like that because that's really ableist.
Well, then it makes you think about how it makes you think when you think about ableist. Then you do think about how it's underserved, right? You think about how people with disabilities are underserved, and how I said it intersects with everything else. That would be the same thing with gay rights. That would be the same thing with black people in power. It's the same. It all does kind of tie.
It's all encompassing. Yeah.
Basically, what we're talking about is supremacy and.
I was just about to say that basically, if you're
She
not,
look like she's gonna punch my shoulder, huh?
No, I'm just saying, like if you're not an able-bodied white male, like everything flows down from that.
Right.
Like in how we value people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the further you are from that, the less society values, the less accommodations there are.
Well,
because
it's crazy. It's crazy as hell to go serve for the country and be disabled, and then there's no accommodations for your home. There's no medical. You know what I'm saying? And then these are the guys that we see on the corner of the freeways with signs, and it literally says veteran. Right. If you sign up for the country, then it should be a given that the rest of your life is taken care of.
Right.
And what and to go with that too, the disability movement is largely white, largely male, largely straight, largely cisgendered. And so the disability movement had to make some adjustments and still has to make some adjustments to accept Black folks, to accept all immigrants, to accept all people of color, to accept people who are members of the LGBTQ community. And so, we're all kind of in this thing, and we're all trying to make it better. There's ways to make, improvements.
I think it's like that in most movements because, like, in the feminist movement, white women take over, you know what I'm saying? And the LGBTQ is white gay men, you know what I'm saying, who dominate the space, you know? So even in these spaces where it's supposed to be about empowerment, people who are not white still have to fight to be heard.
It's white supremacy.
And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It encompasses
everywhere.
It's a virus that infects every single aspect of equal rights from anybody.
Yeah.
They still think that I can do it better. Like I had a couple conversations.
I got one right arm, you got one right arm.
Right.
It's possible.
That's how we should be looking at it.
Yes,
But
I'm black, you're black. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Jesus.
All right, man.
Well, I'm glad
the
Vanilla
nerve.
Musk signed you up because
That's like the vanilla beans and Old Spice.
Gavin Newsom, if we're listening to that, that's
Hey,
Elika
Vanilla.
Bernard. That is not the Reverb Experiment. That is not G Focus.
Earlier.
I call him Fitch from
Hey, for real. That's really.
Hey, Gavin, please, push through the reparations for black people because I know that passed. So
Bring
we're
it
trying to
on.
please bring it.
Push it to
All
the
right.
top.
Spinners
They're trying to-
2021.
Nah, they're going to try to do something slick like we built you 2 schools.
That's it.
Roads.
I'm like, but they're in Rockland.
We're supposed to get there.
Oh,
Bus don't
man.
even come in my neighborhood. Come on now.
Gavin, that was Steph.net. And that was Rajeo laughing.
Bro, we've been disenfranchised for so long. We just expect to get fucked over,
Yeah,
right?
trying to
I
cut
know.
us
Like your
out.
school
I know,
is
I
actually
know.
on a boat on water.
But it's there.
Going to Alcatraz.
You have to wade in the water.
All right, Eric.
Here's your chain and
So,
your pad.
excuse me. All right, let me get
My
back
bad,
to
bro. I can't help
to
it.
the
You know
to
we
the
don't
journalist
clown.
G. Can you speak on the importance of this election and what is at stake?
Okay.
I know that's probably a big
Like I
question.
said, man, I know I'm talking to some informed people. I know I'm talking to some people who watch the news, read the news, listen to the news, and are aware of what everybody and their mom is talking about all over CNN, all over the New York Times, whatever it might be, and saying this election is the most important election in our lifetimes, and in some cases our parents' lifetimes, and some maybe even our grandparents' lifetimes. And let me just explain something that we're all aware, but I want to make sure all your listeners are also aware. Donald Trump is not the first, and he won't be the last racist white president.
Say it again, bro,
Um,
because they act like it's new.
we know, we know it, and we look back. I mean, we look either all the way back to the beginning of the country with slave owning presidents. We can go through Jim Crow era presidents. We can go through, you know what I mean? We can go through segregationists. We can go through just across the board at different leaders, at different levels, at different times, um, holding black folks, brown folks, women back. And I say all that to preface, but at the same time, this is a monumental election for a number of reasons. It's important, of course, to vote for president. We know that. We know what the president is capable of doing. We know the microphone and the platform that the president gets is unlike any other. But what I want to encourage people who are listening, I want to encourage them to also look at Congress as well. In California, of course, we're in a position where our U.S. senators here in the state of California are both Democrats. In our case, they're both women. And we are fortunate in that way. Other states are not so fortunate, I'd say, because they don't have the level of diversity, intellectual thought, and just forward-thinking policy folks at the U.S. Senate level. I say that it's important because you look at something like the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, of course, is the highest court in the land of the United States. They make certain decisions on large cases that can determine certain rights for people. For instance, we all know Roe v. Wade is the historical and monumental case regarding abortion rights. We know there have been cases decided regarding gay marriage. We know that there have been cases decided that impact people's rights to vote and other things, immigration. And we remember 4 years ago when President Obama was still in office and had the opportunity to select a Supreme Court justice. However, because the Senate was controlled by Republicans, he was not able to make the decision, complete the decision, because the Senate never brought forward his candidate or his selection for the Supreme Court.
He was blocked, right?
Right. And it's important that we all know that, because 8 years ago, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, so back when we did have President Obama, people kind of fell asleep in midterm elections and fell asleep in some of the elections down ballot that really could have helped President Obama do some of the things that he wanted to do. I believe that we are more educated now. I believe that we have more information now, and we understand how this process works a little bit better. So right now, of course, there's a 53-47 GOP advantage, Republican advantage in the U.S. Senate. There are a number of Senate seats up this time around. California is not one of them. At least California is not one of them when it comes to a opportunity to flip towards Democrat, because we already have Democratic senators. But there are other states that are swing states, other states where there are Republicans who are retiring from the U.S. Senate, where we have some really good opportunities to pick up a seat or two or three, and maybe even take back control of the Senate. That would, if Vice President Biden happens to win, that would give him some more ammunition, so to speak, when it comes to decisions that he makes on a federal level.
Got it.
To give
which is
you,
why Trump is trying to push.
Amy.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, before the election, so that
Yes.
way, if he does lose, that at least that would secure a conservative Supreme Court.
He's not doing it for the American people. He's not. He's doing it
For his
because he
pocket.
wants to bring out white women who are against abortion.
Mm-hmm.
He wants that 53%
Mm-hmm.
to come out and vote for him in the same way that they did 4 years ago. He doesn't care about what happens after the election.
That's
He's
facts.
appealing to these white evangelical Christian women and
Uh-oh.
Latinos. You know what I'm saying? This very Catholic, very conservative
Mm-hmm.
sector of people in the United States who are against abortion. That's what that's about.
Come on now.
That's a good point. Hey,
That's
hold
facts.
I mean, look how. I mean, I was having a conversation. One of my neighbors, like she does photography for White House events and galas and all that, you know. And I was just telling her how domineering and how smart this guy is, because he's playing chess from a long way away, right? You got to be a hell of a chess player to make a play where you have purposely talked about Hispanics and Latinos and everyone else, and you make plays to still make them vote for you because of one interest.
Yep.
He's a
Come on.
genius. And I think people fail to realize, because we're undereducated, most of us, we don't really, we have these conversations because we can see the other pieces on the puzzle moving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah,
But
it's the
most
difference in learning, and I'm gonna talk about this later with some of the races that are happening in Sacramento. The difference between covert racism and overt racism. It's very easy for us to see overt
Overt.
racism,
Oh, yeah.
the burning, the burning crosses, and
those are the
you
ones
know
we
what
love
I'm
to
saying?
hate.
But overt racism, that is very hard to see if you don't have a trained eye. And I really want people to start paying more attention to overt racism, because that is the dangerous kind of racism. That is what moves policy and money and political power out of black neighborhoods.
Yep.
Come on.
What did
Hold
we
on,
say?
hold-
What did we say yesterday? Yesterday we talked about off air. We talked about the 13% that we do of us that can vote. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're already such a small demographic in the voting pool. It's super important that we take that time to educate ourselves about what's really going on behind the scenes. Because everybody likes to be fed on the surface, but nobody wants to dig their spoon down deep and really pull up the nasty at the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean?
I think people look at like the dumb shit that he says and think, oh, there's no way that he could get elected. It's like he's appealing to people.
Somebody, yeah.
Come on now, like
Yeah.
y'all don't.
Yeah.
Come on.
They
now.
forget that he has a publicist. He's got a whole.
Well, he has
he's
a
got a
team,
whole
yeah.
team of
And
people.
also, people are overestimating how smart Americans are.
That's true. That's very true.
Okay, look. So look, you're
I
right.
want to say.
No, well, then
No,
we
that's
can-
very true.
No,
Come
it's
on
true
now.
because
Yeah.
I just said that he was a genius, and that's exactly what I was meaning to say. That he's so much. He understands his audience.
Yeah.
He understands that
Exactly.
they live in these little bubbles where there's nothing but
He
white.
said it. Yeah.
He
He was like,
understands.
I want a dumb voter.
Yeah, and he'll
I
tell
love
you.
dumb voters. Dumpster
And,
Donnie loves dumb voters. Are you
Al-
sure?
alliteration.
He's
We're
appealing
gonna
to the
write a
dumb
song.
voters,
Yeah, for
and there's a
sure.
lot of them. There's more than
Oh,
people think
oh,
there is.
Eric was gonna say something. Go ahead, Eric.
And, I don't know how much I've been privileged and I've been able to travel throughout the country, with my family, with friends, because of school, and I played wheelchair basketball for a good amount of time, and part of those travels took me to parts of the country that I had never been before. Parts of Western Pennsylvania, parts of the Midwest in Wisconsin, parts of the deep South, and not always Black Deep South, but like different parts of the Deep South. And let me tell you, man, the way that Trump is able to communicate hits directly with these types of communities. It is very different than what Californians are used to. It is very different to what progressives are used to and educated folks are used to. These folks live a different type of lifestyle, and what matters to them doesn't necessarily click with what matters to us. So I know, and Alika pointed it out earlier. I know, we could have our certain opinions about Joe Biden, and we can even have our certain opinions about Kamala Harris and maybe some of choices that they made, some of the decisions, some of the things that they still say. But we got to also keep in mind that this country is very spread out, very segregated in certain areas, and in certain parts of the country where they're really trying to get the types of votes that they're really trying to hit. It don't look like us always,
Yep.
and they don't always interact with people like us. So we got to keep that in mind at times when we're listening to what these folks
Yeah,
are saying.
these red states kind of grow up in a way of living that hasn't changed. There's been no progression, right? They're not technologically savvy.
Right.
They're not integrated with African Americans or Native Americans or Indian Americans
Very
or
stuck in time.
Yeah, they're stuck. There's a lot of these places when you start going into the people that he need to vote are still horse and buggy. You know what I mean?
No, for real.
No, if you get down into the deep south, and these houses are on 4 acres of land, you know what I mean, and there's 13 family members to a house. These are the kind of people that are voting. If we're in Sacramento, go to Reading, right? Get out to Reading, and you're gonna see exactly the people that he's talking to.
Right.
And they gonna vote.
They will vote. They will.
Because they understand that it maintains their superior
Status
order
quo.
and their status quo. And Eric, one thing I wanted to point out, and I'm sure you can probably agree with me on this, is messaging. The Democrats do not message the same way that the Republican Party does. The Republican Party has mastered their messaging. It's I don't want to offend babies, but it's Similac. You know what I'm saying? It's very basic.
It is. No,
It's the same thing. They don't change their message. It's not a lot of substance. They connect all of their platform to the survival of the white race. Basically,
Facts.
it's unsaid. And so Democrats really haven't mastered a message. They say many, many different things, and so you have to be educated to understand where Democrats are coming from.
Yes.
And I mean, Donald Trump is doing what he knows how to do, and that's create a very simple message that resonates with people.
He's been good at that forever. That's what made him. That's what got him his money. You understand what I'm saying? If there's one thing that you got to know about somebody being a millionaire or a billionaire, you're a very, very influential person, because you have to make people believe in your brand. That's the only way you build a reservoir that big. You understand what I'm saying? So him being president was a popularity contest initially.
Well, he lost that.
What, the
Yeah.
popularity
He
contest?
lost the popular
He lost
vote.
the. I would just say, like, looking at all the data and stuff. You know, we had the Russian interference on social media. We
They
also
don't wanna talk
don't
about
know
that.
in those swing states where he won, if he actually won, was there tampering of voting machines. And then also there were a lot of people who were closet voters, so they didn't say they were going to vote for Trump until they voted.
Right, and we saw the numbers, and black women showed out like they always do. And then when you looked at some of the male voters, and I think that's kind of what you guys were talking about before. What surprised me was how Trump resonated with so many immigrants, and I was like,
That's
wow, that
wild,
was
huh?
crazy, because I talked to a friend of mine at the time.
These are voting immigrants?
Yes,
Bro,
Okay.
you know,
I'm sorry when I say immigrants, I mean U.S. citizens that have that have come from a different country. So like I had a friend that was from India, and me and him had plenty of conversations. And one of the things that he brought up was, he said that for us, that a sign of strength, that we are used to that because that's what we're used to back home. He said, so when we see a strong leader or somebody that is willing to make like decisions as far as trying to close down the border, or willing to go to war, or having a more stronger aggressive message, we align ourselves with that, because that's what we had when we were back in India, that we had more of a dictatorship, more of somebody that's willing to do that. So Trump also aligns himself, and that's kind of why I think people, like, if you go outside of the U.S., like I'm not sure if you guys watch like the 90 Day Fiance.
I heard about it.
Yeah. So like they love Trump because the images of him are a rich, powerful white man. That's it.
Yep.
And he can do whatever he wants to do. So
That's
then
true.
for them, they're like, oh, that's what I want. So when they say I want the American lifestyle, what they're really saying is, I want to be rich, powerful, in control.
So that was gonna leads right into my next point. My next point was, a lot of the people that vote against black folks. And we don't say that. People, they don't talk about that, but that's really what's going on. They vote against they vote against the interests of black people. So your
Or
Indian
poor,
friend,
just poor people,
no,
period.
right.
Because what they consider poor people, because a lot of times, a lot of people that I know that still voted, that it's like, really? It was more so of, he's not talking about me. They still see themselves as superior to the people that
Well, that's
he's
what I was
talking
gonna say.
about. That
Internalized
hatred.
racism.
Come on.
And they'll vote
Against your
against-
own
Of
people.
non-black people is very real.
So some Indian folks that people I know work with, right, have told me that the image of black people are thugs. So why would we vote where black people have interest? White people are the same way. Why would we vote where black people have interest? Chinese, Japanese, you ever been in the store? Hurry up and buy. Get out, right? Why would they vote where black people have interest?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Because they feel like they're going to lose their place in society,
Bingo.
so that's why
Right.
they vote
So-
conservative.
Right.
Right.
So, but I think that's the major part of voting that, it doesn't even have to be a conscious decision. I think that when it's propagandized the way it is a subconscious thing in the back of your head, implanted when you're killing black people publicly, when you're executing us and the police are treating us bad, and then we have to go to war and we have riots and we have this and we have that. It sets the stage for people when it's time to make decisions that benefit us. It sets the stage for us to be disenfranchised and overlooked.
And in California, they just released an article about the growing support among Latinos in California for Donald Trump.
Yes.
And I said, I'm not surprised. They
Right,
think they're
because-
going to be inducted to the White People's Hall of Fame, like
Bro.
the Irish and the Italians. You're brown.
I work in construction, bro. The only thing they hate more than black people is Latinos. They treat them terribly. They treat them way worse than they treat us.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a desire to be loved by massa, right?
Yes, it
like
is.
we're
That part.
we're goddamn competing against we're competing against each other. What did I talk to you about offline today, bro?
Yeah.
If people understood the bigger picture, you would act differently.
Yep.
Your ideas would
Move
talk
differently.
differently.
And because they fell for the Kool-Aid of
Facts.
Yep.
if you work hard in this country, you will get ahead. All you got to do is pull yourself up from the bootstraps,
Right.
and then you'll get ahead. And they also
Right.
fell for the Kool-Aid of that black people just want everything for free. So no, why do you guys just want everything? You know, you want.
I mean, I
so-
do, but damn.
Hey, bro, I heard a joke. I heard a joke yesterday. I heard a joke yesterday at work. Now, I told you guys I'm the only black guy in my whole company. So the joke was, we need help lifting up this heavy equipment. The stuff that I put online yesterday, the switchgear, and one of the guys said, "Well, go to Home Depot and say quién es más fuerte," right? Which means who's the strongest. And he said, all of a sudden you've got a muscle show, a muscle passion for work. See, that's how they think about. That's how they think about us, right? Or they think about the Hispanics and the Latinos that are trying to work to eat, right? But the joke is, go get cheap labor. Right. The joke is, these are the scum of the earth. These are the bottom of the barrel, and they have us competing for each. They have them competing against us when they don't understand that if we win, they win.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. So part of what they also took the pie on, or took the cheese on, was that they think that there's one pie.
Facts.
And
Right.
that if you don't get a slice of that pie, you don't eat. And in reality is, like we were saying on all the other shows that we said, there is no one pie.
Right.
You can go create your own pie,
Right.
and you can go get on yourself. You don't have to eat from their table.
Nah,
You
bro, that's a
think
bunch of
that
people
the
on
only
lunch
table
line,
that there
no
is to eat
bakers.
from
Is
is
there.
their table,
And
and
that's
if
what
you're
they've
not buddy
conditioned us
with
to,
them,
though.
Yeah.
then you are not going to eat.
It's
But-
an illusion of scarcity.
Yes.
They make
Yes.
us think that there's not enough,
So we
and so we got to fight for the
for
little
the
bit.
scraps, right?
There
So when
is
they
more than enough wealth
yes,
for every single person in this country to have a home,
Right.
for every single person in this country to have health care,
Hey.
for every single person in this country to have access to high quality education.
What did
Yes.
they give us in the stimulus packages? 2.2 trillion.
And like
Come on.
and like we all know, and I know I spoke a little bit earlier about the disability community and how it intersects, but we all know that when black folks get lifted up, everybody gets
everybody,
When-
everybody.
when people with disabilities get lifted up, when there's more accessibility for people with disabilities, everybody's happier.
Facts.
Everybody's happier when there's more ramps, when there's more elevators that work, when there's more, you know what I mean? When rooms are a
Yep.
little bit bigger,
Come on,
when
bro.
hallways
That's-
are a
that's
little
bars.
bit
That's good. Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
why?
it helps everybody.
You know, I think what they fail to realize as well is, when you have people with disabilities that come into positions of power, you get a broader range of ideas, right? Because those
Yes.
people see different. They see life in different circumstances,
That you don't see
right?
it
So
now.
the person that has a missing right leg, he's not only thinking about his leg. He understands what a disability is in total.
Yes.
So he's also thinking about the guy who may be missing a hand,
Right.
or an arm,
Right.
or somebody who has a heart disability.
That's
You
true.
understand what I'm
That's
saying?
true. Yeah.
They're not thinking about just the guy that only has a left leg.
Right.
But this is our mindsets are so minuscule in the way that we're programmed to think that they're afraid. They're afraid. It's just like with black people. If they understand that if you allow one in, we're gonna let our friends in,
Right.
because that's what I'm in the trades.
Some of us.
No, some of us. Facts.
We'll get to that later as well.
That's a whole I just had that conversation.
Yeah, okay, I'm not. I'll wait till. Later.
So hold on. So Eric,
He got
because I know
fired
that
up.
this conversation, man, this could be something that, because this election covers so much ground that we can just talk about a bunch of different things. For the people that are listening, that are on the fence, that are maybe not even wanting to vote, I kind of want to bring it back to what we were going to ask. So we were talking about what was at stake. So I know that you mentioned the Supreme Court, obviously, because those are lifelong terms, that they serve for their entire life on there, right? We're also talking about just what it means for people of color, for people that may not be white men, right? So specifically in California, there are certain propositions that we have the ability to vote for. I know me and you talked off air on some of the ones that are more important. So don't want to talk about all of them because we don't have enough time to talk about every single one, but can we kind of go through some of those just so we can see, because some of these people are opening up these ballots for the first time and they're like, what the hell am I voting for? What is yes? What does no mean? What is this? What is this? So can we go through some of those and just kind of talk about the importance of those? Okay, so the first one that we wanted to bring up was what, Prop 16?
Yeah, and I want to give you guys and your listeners just kind of a little bit of an overview first. Sure. So it's interesting, man. Like, we have an opportunity to vote on propositions that impact our state, and something that I think that we need to keep in mind is that it is so important to be informed. Whether that means you read the Black Lives Voter Guide, whether you read the Cal Matters at a Glance, whether you're reading the Disability Rights California Voter Guide, League of Women Voters Voter Guide. There's voter guides, BOAPA Voter Guide. There's different voter guides that can give you different information on all of these issue areas. One in particular that I used is I want to track who's spending money to support which issue. I think that's still the best way to determine for yourself which side you want to be on if you aren't sure what each proposition means.
So who's funding which measure, basically?
Exactly. So if you're thinking about a measure, if you're thinking about a measure and you're looking at, okay, one side is yes and they're all corporations, and the other side is no and they're all labor, they're all community groups, they're all individual citizens. It's like, which side am I more likely to side with?
Laborers.
Right. And so it's just an easy way, in my opinion, to, if you don't know kind of what exactly each measure is saying, you can at least go by, okay, who's spending a bunch of money on this, and why would they be spending a ton of money on yes or a ton of money on no, and then let me make my decision.
That's such a great way to put that, because it does put in perspective on, not to be condescending, but like a layman terms way of thinking about it, right? The corporation is definitely there to make money for the corporation at whatever cost, right? And then, like you said, with the laborers and the workers, they want the best for their lives, right? Which in turn impacts the corporation's overhead. So I think that was a great way to put that, because I pay attention to a lot, and I've never even thought about it like that. Right. That's genius.
Eric, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, so Prop 21. I don't mean to jump ahead. Prop 21, rent control, right?
I was going over Prop 16
So
first.
we're gonna,
We
yeah.
didn't
So
do
we're
it?
gonna, so we're gonna
I
get
fell
there.
asleep. I'm sorry.
So we're gonna get there.
She
We're
was
gonna
taking
get there.
notes.
So we're gonna do. So we're gonna go over Prop 16, Prop 21, Prop 22, Prop 25.
Prop
Okay.
16 is
So
major.
Prop 16, which is the end in
Of
the ban on affirmative action.
Yes. So California years ago had affirmative action for a long, long time. My parents still talk about the reason that they got into the schools that they got into, in large part, was because there was affirmative action in California. They were able to take advantage of that affirmative action and go to some of the best schools in the state. University of California, of course, as a school system, is the top public school system in the world. And UC Berkeley, UCLA, all these schools that are top public universities in the country and in the world are right here in California. UC Davis is one of the best schools in the world. And Black folks, Latinos, women, other folks who are of different minority groups, different ranges of diversity, were given opportunities to have their race or background as part of the influence in terms of whether they would be included in this process. That was taken away years ago, and this specific measure, Prop 16, would end that ban. So essentially, on one side, you have ending the ban that would make give minorities an additional advantage, an additional space when it comes to being included in both school and jobs. And on the other side, you have essentially treating all Californians equally. So you have Black folks and white folks being at the same level, essentially, regardless of race, regardless of sex, regardless of color, ethnicity, national origin.
Got it.
So that's pretty much how that one breaks down.
Okay,
I
so
can hear a
so
lot of
for
hate on that one.
so for our audience, we're mostly Black people that's probably listening, or people that are from the culture. So we're gonna
Yes.
we're gonna go through the props, and I think probably just to kind of get us, because I think a lot of people are already intimidated with the voting process. We're gonna vote. What do you think we should vote? And give us a reason why it's important for us. So 16 sounds like that would be a yes.
Yes, absolutely.
You scared me. I was like, we got to get him off the phone right now.
Hey, the funny thing is, I'm able to kind of within a certain aspect. I'm not an elected official.
Right, we know.
I'm not somebody who has to be completely, nonpartisan.
Right.
And actually, my organization, the organization that I work for, Disability Rights California, has a voter guide where we have suggestions on the propositions.
Right.
And one of the propositions that we have put out a position on is Prop 16, and we've put out a yes on Prop 16.
Perfect.
Nice.
So I can not only say, personally, as an African American male,
Right.
but I can also say, the organization that I work for supports
Yeah.
yes on Prop 16.
Yeah. So that includes disabilities. That includes sexual preference, sexual orientation, the whole nine, right? For that affirmative action, or is that just race?
So this one doesn't. This one's just race. It's race, sex, color, ethnicity, national origin.
Okay.
AKA I win.
Yeah.
And white women are gonna lose their minds. I could get in, because I'm a woman, but I won't because I'm white. Yeah.
Well, so let me.
White is already working in your favor.
And then so real quick question, because
Susie.
I'm not the smartest guy in the room in this situation, or usually ever, right? Because I like.
You hear the asterisks in this situation.
In this situation, I'm not. There's
usually
people
the
smarter at the
smartest, but
table
there's-
and smarter on the Zoom. So from my understanding, the demographic that have benefited the most from affirmative action in the past have been white women.
Yeah, so it's interesting. White women definitely have benefited, and another group that. So I actually when I was a legislative advocate earlier this year, I was working on this issue in the state capitol, and when I tell you guys won't be surprised which groups came out in large numbers against affirmative action. They were largely Asian groups from throughout the state
Told you.
who came out in huge numbers saying that they did not want to ban that they wanted to keep the system the way it is, that they did not want to end the ban on affirmative action.
Very interesting.
No, it makes sense.
It does make sense, but it's still interesting.
And there were a number of groups. It was all throughout the state, from Southern California, Northern California. They took hours explaining why everybody should be treated equally. And as we know, those of us who pay any attention to the University of California system and the students who attend the University of California, they have a bunch of Asians, both Asian immigrants and Asian Americans, all throughout the UC system. So there's no surprise.
Interesting.
I had a workplace experience with an Asian woman, without giving away an identity or anything like that. What I found was that they are okay as long as we don't do better than them.
Facts.
And she couldn't take that I was making more than her, that I had a position of power and influence, and she didn't. She didn't know how to talk to me. And that's how you can always tell someone's anti-blackness. They don't know how to celebrate with you. They don't know how to talk about your blackness in a way that's good. And they don't know how to not be competitive, because the simple fact that you are right there is a threat to their existence, and they don't know what to do.
I have a bunch of Asian friends, and because we're friends, we have these kind of conversations often, right? And they'll tell you straight up that if you're not going to marry an Asian, you marry a white person, because they believe that the closer they get to white, the more powerful they become.
And they've done a very good job of distancing themselves from
the rest of
anything,
the minorities.
Right? The rest of the minorities.
That's true.
And to me, sometimes with Asian people, it's like they're white people with culture. You know what I'm saying? Because they carry a lot of the same ideology. You know what I'm saying? And we've seen in nail shops and in hair stores how violent they. Some of them have been towards black women and black people, and they come into our neighborhoods and they build shops, they build restaurants, they take our dollars.
They don't hire none of us.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
It's facts. That's what it's the same conversation of why certain minority groups vote the way that they do, because that's their ideology underneath it all.
Like I said,
even though that they're a minority.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Even though they're minority, they don't want to be
They
the
still
lower tier
separate
minority.
them, so I'm not like the black.
No,
Right. I might be brown, but I ain't black.
Right.
And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, that's facts.
Because that N-word comes out fast. We in it together until one of us starts doing better.
No,
Yeah.
and just the tricks of even some of the I've seen videos of some of the stores will be charging tax on non-taxable items, and then when they get called out on it, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know." No, you didn't know.
You did know.
You did know, and you've been taking advantage of these people
Why are you
forever.
taxing people on
and
Snickers?
why are you opening those stores there?
During the beginning of COVID, when they closed the hair shops and you had to place your orders at the door, and I would ask for a certain brand of hair, they'd be like, "Oh, we don't have that. They're gonna bring me out something 3 times expensive."
Yeah.
I said, "Look here." I'm not gonna say what I said.
Did you call him a nigger?
No.
What? An Asian person?
That's hilarious. They don't know how to act. I call white people at work nigger every time.
Oh my God.
They don't know.
No.
They don't know how to
I
act.
said, let me find out that you're exploiting black women during a pandemic to sell more hair. I will shut this store down, and you will be washing my spinning rims.
And we believe it.
2021 coming.
Nigga, they spin
When I get my check.
Let me find out.
Come on now.
All right. So to speed things up, Proposition 21, rent control. So voting yes on this measure would allow cities and countries to put rent control policies into place. A no on this measure would continue the process or the provisions of Costa-Hawkins. So yes or no, Eric?
So it's funny. I mean, this is one of those where I looked at the where the money was being spent. Who was spending the money.
Okay.
And as far as no goes, you got residential corporate landlords. You got communities corporate landlords.
Mm-hmm.
You got all these different landlords and business organizations, business groups. And on the other side, you got the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. You know what I mean? Like it's just a completely different.
I go into the landlord category.
21 though. Speaking of 21, the California NAACP president AIDS corporate prop campaigns collects $1.2 million in counting to be against Prop 21. Alice Huffman
you wanna know why?
got called to the floor this past week at the Capitol for taking $1.2 million personal dollars to be against Prop 21 and use the NAACP's good name to hurt black people.
Oh.
I'll say this. So I proudly used to work at the NAACP. And my own personal and my own experiences, any of that kind of stuff. What I will say is that I encourage, as I said earlier, I encourage all people, especially black folks, to look and research on your own all of the information, and instead of relying on any organization. So whether it's the NAACP, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's any BAPAC, any organization can put out information. But I encourage everybody. We all have access, hopefully, to some level of information, whether it's voter guides, whether it's the internet, our cell phones. So I encourage everybody to look on their own at all this information.
Yes.
And so, I just think it's really, really important. And I say that, I'm not going to say, anything yet positive or negative about the NAACP.
Oh yeah,
No, we absolutely should. And
Well,
I'm proud that the black. No, I'm not saying you, but we absolutely should, because the Black Caucus. Thank God for the black women who are leading the Black Caucus that came forward to the Capitol. Kendra Lewis, who is the vice chair of the Black Caucus, and brought up the fact that there are too many times these older black organizations exploit black people for themselves. That is something that we should absolutely be having a conversation about, because it holds us back from being able to really progress forward as a community.
Because they're trusted.
There's
right,
a lot of,
because they're trusted.
There's a lot of situations where we've seen money come into the hands of organizations and it never makes it out to the public.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of those type situations. It is baffling to take money to vote against rent control as the
that is very suspect. But I think what Eric is saying is that I think that you guys are both saying the same things. He's saying you need to do the research on your own and not depend on somebody like trusting of, because I've always been able to trust an organization, I'm going to trust them every single time.
Or it's the NAACP, so
I'm going to trust whatever they
you're
endorse.
going to assume that they're going to be in our favor.
Right.
That's the problem. People are going to look at this measure and say, well, the NAACP, and white folks love a chance out to do anything good for black people. They're going to look and say, well, the NAACP said, and you should vote for it.
How they using Cube and
they'll use anybody.
Right.
Come on, bro.
So I think that's a good point. I think that you guys are both all on the same page, and I totally agree. So rent control sounds like that's a yes.
Yeah, so
I'm
I can
not
say
voting yes for that as a landlord.
And
as a what?
As a corporate landlord.
Okay, so we need to go on to the next one.
Hey, look.
Hey.
No, I just said that because I knew she was gonna be like individualism.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I'm voting yes on that.
That's real though. Hey, but that's I don't mean to cut you off, bro. But on the real, black folks, this is a great example of black folks not being monolithic. Of black folks, some black folks are renting, some black folks are the landlords. So You know what I mean? We all got different perspectives,
but the collective
I was
poverty
speaking.
of Black people affects Black people as a whole. Now, I know middle class
I'm not.
America definitely has a problem with being disengaged from poor Black people, but what happens to one of us is going to affect all of us in the end. Like, to be honest about it, like in some shape or form, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's rent, you're owning, you're renting, you know what I'm saying? If it keeps Black people in poverty, that is going to affect you in some way, somehow, eventually.
I saw the rent control thing go out the window because I work for companies that employ. Well, I've worked on jobs for this company called Greenleaf, and in the Bay Area.
Pastor Greenleaf?
No, not Pastor Greenleaf.
I love that show.
Look,
There's a company called Greenleaf.
but if it's him, he's doing great.
They own a church.
But how San Francisco avoided the rent control thing in the Bay Area control, you notice like all the masses of Black folks are now here in Sacramento, Las Vegas, Fresno, but but the reason being is because they passed new laws, new legislation that said if you update your service, your electrical service, then rent control no longer applies to your building.
Right.
So they found loopholes in order to raise the rents, even though the Bay Area is rent controlled.
Well, you know what? And in Berkeley,
That's crazy.
I think in the 1970s, or was it the 80s? It was either 70s or the 80s, where they passed a rent control measure as well. And what they did, same thing. They found a loophole around it where they changed the apartments into condominiums.
Facts.
So condominiums are not under that rent control measure.
Yes, sir.
So then they were able to then uncap it.
Bro, because I've updated electrical services with 200 units. Right. And when I got there, everybody's rent controlled. Everybody's still paying $1,400-$1,500 a month in the city.
Right.
By the time we're done, half the residence is gone because they've boosted the rent to $3,500 a month.
Makes sense.
Wow. Eric, you're not offended by my clapback. You're used to this heat.
You know, I got so much love for Elika. You can clap back, girl. As I'm ready
You
for
better
you.
clap
man.
back, bro. Don't be over here being a victim. Don't be a vic. It's the reverb. Hey, you ever been in the group?
No, that's the homie,
It's
Eric.
all
That's the
good.
homie. That's the homie.
So we've heard. So Prop 22.
Soft serve.
Rules for app-based drivers. Now I know this one. I've been getting text messages left and right for this one. Golly,
I've been so.
I wish there was a way to block them. So
How'd you get my phone number?
for real. So
I was just sitting here and I got a text that said maybe Dina. I'm like, who is Dina? I'm like, leave me alone.
This is Dina from Prop 24. Have you voted already?
Oh man. So Prop 22. So a yes on Prop 22 would allow companies not to classify drivers as regular employees, but would require them to provide them with the benefits listed above, which there's a whole list of that. And then then a no vote on this measure would continue AB5's requirement that these drivers would be classified as employees and they would be provided the minimum wage, workers' compensation, and overtime pay. So I know we kind of talked about this one a little bit off air. So the yes or no, and why?
All right. So I voted no.
Okay.
Good, Eric.
And let me explain it. So first of all, I know if y'all seen the ads, almost every single ad is yes, right?
Yes.
And if you look at the money, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, all these big corporations are pouring in. I think I saw on the Sacramento Bee they're breaking records for the amount of money that they're spending on this proposition.
For yes, right? They're throwing money in for yes.
Yes.
Right, got it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're throwing money in for yes. So it's an easy question, at least in my opinion,
Right.
but one that people still got to break down on their own.
Right.
It's, do you want these drivers to be able to be independent contractors, or do you want them to be employees? And if they're employees, then they get certain benefits that come with being an employee, but they have certain restrictions in terms of their own individual schedules and other things.
Right.
So that's essentially where you get to break it down. And as I said, you're looking at all these corporations, Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash, and they're making threats like, "Oh, we gonna get out of California if y'all vote no on
And
this."
there's no way they're leaving
And
They're
California.
not leaving California.
I
They
fam.
did
think
that before. They tried to say we're
Right.
gonna leave at midnight.
Yeah, they're not leaving.
Jump bikes.
Leave at
right,
9
and
a.m.
we've talked, and I know Rob and I talked about this. It's like, I dare y'all to leave California.
Facts. Because the only place you can go is
Like,
California and
first
New
of all-
York. That's it.
Right.
Right. And it's like, first of all, if y'all leave California, somebody else gonna come right in right behind you and scoop all
Yep.
that
All
money
that
back
money.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Let him go.
we know how this.
Yeah,
thing
the whole purpose of being an app-based driver is to make money at your leisure on your
own
time.
Yes.
When you have the availability.
So
to do
would they
such.
still be able to do that?
No, because they're gonna be on hourly. If you vote yes, then they'll get hours.
They'll be
hour-
considered employees.
They'll be minimum wage. They'll be minimum wage employees.
So the company would then dictate your schedule,
And
but you would receive benefits. So
Will it be an option?
no.
It would just be.
to me,
I mean,
companies,
I don't do it. See, this is the thing that where I was coming from. I'm like, I don't do it. I know a lot of people that are
don't
that
do it
it
either.
has got them through this time right now to be able to turn that app on
Right.
and make some money. And I know some people would rather keep it that way.
Right.
Well, think about this though. If you're a minimum wage employee in California, it's at $13 an hour, $14 Is it 15?
I think it may. I think they're in the years to getting it up to 15.
So think,
Yeah, it'll go up to
think about
15.
that. Or you can drive 2 or 3 Lyfts or Ubers in that hour's time and make $45, $50. You know what I mean? So it's really a disadvantage for people to want to be a minimum wage employee.
Right. And I think when me and Eric were talking, I think all the labor unions or the people that were backing up, the money was going towards voting no. So to me, if they're voting no and you're the ones that's working, I'm voting with you.
That's where I was coming from, because I'm like, at the end of the day, this is basically a vote on something that doesn't necessarily affect me, because I don't.
But it does affect you, because future app-based situations and employment gigs, they're gonna follow the model of Uber and
Well,
Lyft.
I mean, I'm
they're the
saying as
leaders.
far as I want to vote with the people.
Oh,
The people
gotcha.
that are
You know what I
working.
mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I want to vote with the people.
Right. And as we know, I mean, being an employee, you also get sick leave, you get health care, you potentially, if you need unemployment, you can get unemployment. There's a whole list of benefits that you get as an employee versus an independent contractor.
Right.
But most people are, I think a ton of people have regular jobs first, that they're already getting benefits or so on and so forth, and they just use these as a means to supplement more income.
Right. Well, and
more
during the
people would do
pandemic.
it.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
More people would do it because it will give them access to benefits. Like, it's easy to do. It's easy to do Uber. You don't really got to fill out an application or interview. So I think this is going to give a lot of people an opportunity to have health care.
That too, yeah.
You think they're gonna pay them
Yeah,
health
and-
care at minimum wage?
I mean, what are the benefits that they're talking about?
Man, that's
I
to
get
be
it. I'm sorry.
discussed.
I think what I was just saying was the opposite. No, they would be employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then yes would
Right.
be
No,
that they.
no.
Go ahead.
Right. No is they would be employees.
Right.
And yes is they would be independent.
They would stay
contractors.
independent
I
contractors.
would
Got
like
it.
them to
Got it.
stay
And
independent
obviously, Uber and
You
Lyft
think so?
are
Yeah.
pushing the money towards yes because they don't want to come out of pocket and pay for the benefits and for all the things that come with
And
that.
I guarantee they're making more
and
than
to
enough.
me,
They're making a
to me,
lot.
they were trying to make it seem like, oh well, if you guys vote no, then they're not going to be able to make their own schedules and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, that's not true, because the same way that during the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, all these companies were saying there's no way that you can work from home, and then pandemic pop up. Oh, hey, we're all working from home.
Yep.
So same thing with here. They're going to
figure.
find a way for them to be able to make their own schedules because they don't want to lose the workforce
Right.
that is going to bring them the money.
Right.
So the onus should be on the company to make it work, not on the employees to make it work
Right.
outside of what the
Especially
corporation
because
is.
picking a
Facts.
job is a choice.
Yes.
So, you're not, I'm offering you my services to help you make money. Not
Exactly.
you offering me
Exactly.
money for my, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So no, and then I think the other good thing about that too, I think in that measure they would have better background checks too, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
I that's one of the things, like with my wife or with anybody
my
that's driving
kids,
Uber or Lyft,
sisters.
you want to make sure who's driving got some sense. You know what I mean? So,
That's real.
so okay, 25. This is the last one. So the repeal of cash bail. So a vote yes on this measure would end cash bail in California and replace it with a new pre-trial release system. A vote on no would keep California's cash bail system as it is. I think this one's pretty clear. Pretty easy.
Yeah, this one, I can even say it personally and through my organization. Again, yes is the decision that was made.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they had that
And
when
this
I
is
went to
another
jail.
example.
I wish they had that when I was in there.
Okay.
I had to goddamn pay them people back.
And again, this is another one. Oh man, and this is another one, man. When you look at who's spending the money
Mm-hmm.
on no, you looking at bail bonds, this Aladdin bail bonds, bail bonds company.
Padilla.
That.
Padilla,
And it's
goddamn,
like,
curse you, Padilla. I want my money back.
Golly.
They will garnish
It's a
your
predatory
check.
business, definitely.
It's very predatory.
is exactly.
Bro,
it's a predatory
You
business,
can't,
and we
you
know,
can't get
we
qualified
know,
for a car
you know,
loan, but you could damn sure get qualified for a bail.
Right.
Oh my God.
Come
You
on
can't
now.
you can't get a
That's-
credit
And
card
we
at
know-
Walmart, but you can damn sure get bail.
Right.
Goddamn Padilla.
Well,
and we know
the-
how messed up.
go ahead, Eric. I'm
We
sorry.
know how messed up the system. We know how messed up the system is, anyways. I mean, y'all know. I went to law school. I studied law, and we know how messed up the justice system is.
Trash.
We know how messed up, criminal justice is in the United States, and we know that forcing people to pay money to get out of jail is just a messed up system. It is inherently discriminatory against poor people, against people who can't afford, the extra money to be able to spend
Right.
on being able to get out of jail.
Right.
So,
Well,
so that system just in general is messed
And
up.
if you're innocent,
Mo-
you don't even get the money back.
No, facts.
So
Well, and
you
most people are
bailed
committing
out.
crimes to get money anyway, bro.
Exactly.
I'm broke, dog. That's how I got here.
That's why I robbed the bank.
That's how I got
For
here.
real.
I'm broke.
All right. Okay, so we went through all the propositions. Next question that I got for you, 'cause I think you already answered the previous one as far as kind of what your voting process looks like. Just as far as what I've noticed and what I've seen from you. So you always seem to fight for those who don't have a voice. Can you speak to us about the importance of including not only just black people, but people with disabilities into your conversation about equal rights?
Man, I know we spoke about it earlier, but I really want to keep hammering this in, that people with disabilities, first of all, the numbers of people with disabilities is always going to be far less than the actual number. So the number of people that identify as a person with a disability is always going to be way lower than the actual number. There are some statistics out there that say 40 to 50% of Americans have some level of disability. As I said earlier, whether it's a cognizant, whether it's a mental health disability, whether it's a psychiatric disability, a learning disability, we all probably know somebody, at least know somebody, or have somebody within our family who have some visible disability, and then somebody else who we don't know, or a number of people who have invisible disabilities. And so, these are people that don't always feel comfortable disclosing because of the stigma against people with disabilities. We hear all the time, folks talking bad about somebody with a mental health disability.
That's true.
Somebody, oh man, that's so and so. He's crazy.
Yep.
Or right. All the terms, or he's retarded. Some of the terms that we've heard over the years, that when somebody hears it, when somebody with a disability hears that, they're like, man, I don't want to put myself out there.
Right.
I'd rather just stay. I'd rather just stay hidden. And when that happens, it gets reinforced over and over again. And my life has been dedicated to making sure that those people feel comfortable and are brought to the table when decisions are being made. And
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. And oftentimes, those people also intersect with race. Oftentimes they are women. Oftentimes they can be members of the LGBTQ community. And it's just so crucial that those voices are not only heard, but that they're respected and empowered. That we're not just, oh yeah, you could be in the room back in the corner, and go play over there with some other people. It's like, no, man, you deserve to be sitting right up here with everybody else, and you deserve to have a say-so in how decisions are being made.
Man, especially because of the perspective. You know what I mean? The perspective. I think people don't, we don't take advantage of the perspective that people from different walks and different lifestyles bring. And man, it's crazy.
Well, and I think what we were saying earlier, I think Elika brought up that point is that just because you may look different or be different than somebody else, that does not devalue your life, your voice, or your opinion. And why do we look at it like that? That just because, like you said, that maybe somebody's in a wheelchair, that he doesn't have something important or something that can help everybody out to say. And when you start muting people's voices just based off of what they look like, then what kind of society are we building?
Well, that's how you built America.
Well,
that's the American ideology, right? The American ideology is survival of the fittest, and who it's capitalism. So whoever has the most money, whoever has this, whoever has that, right? And so, and like you said, the American dream is a wealthy, rich, blonde, white man. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the disabilities. It's the same thing with sexual orientation. You know what I'm saying? So all those things, like you said, they intersect. That's a great way to put it. Categorically, they all intersect into falling under white supremacy.
Exactly. So,
damn, Eric, you got bars, bro.
And I really want to challenge. I know that we have some great leaders who are a part of this podcast. Great leaders who listen to this podcast, who pay attention to this podcast. And I want to challenge, especially all of us who are Black, to look at ourselves, look at our organizations that we're a part of, and ask yourself, man, how many times has there been a person with a disability at the table when we're making decisions?
Never.
How many times, should I have, asked, man, what's the deaf perspective? What's the disability perspective? What's the what's the mental health impact on this issue? Or what if somebody had a learning disability? How would they be able to figure this thing out? And just think through that. It's not something that always comes natural if you're not around it, if you're not in that space. But I just want to encourage all of you guys and all of your listeners to just consider it as often as you can, where you're saying, man, I wonder what the disability perspective might be on this. The same way that we want to be included when big decisions are being made, I encourage you all to do the same when it comes to disability.
Yeah, you asked a good question, man. Even like I said, again, I'm in the construction field, and when we're doing these ADA projects, I've never seen a person with a disability in the engineering room.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never seen a person with a disability come out and actually, they have their inspectors and they have the regular everyday test, but he's absolutely right. I've never seen when we got to do this for people with disabilities, right. But I've never actually seen a person with a disability as the inspector, which would be the best inspector.
In the room of the conversation when you're doing a project for a specific demographic,
you should definitely have that demographic present.
Is not in the room.
Facts.
Yeah, that's fact. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Bars.
Yep.
Eric, you got bars,
Eric,
bro.
man, you got bars, man. So, final question before we get into some fun, man. So while I have you and Elika both here, because you guys are both prominent voices in Sacramento and outside, actually just prominent voices just for all of California, what are some important measures, because there's a lot of people from Sacramento that will be listening to this podcast, what are some important measures and or candidates that we cannot afford not to vote yes for or endorse? Because we already know that local elections are far more impactful than the presidential election, and it seems like we spend a lot of our energy on what Trump is saying or not saying, or what Biden is saying or not saying. So we got to get out and actually vote locally. So what are some Sacramento topics that are on the docket that we cannot afford to not look into?
So I vote. I use the Sacramento Sister Voter Guide.
Oh, hold on.
Man, listen, like Dr. Addie and Kula and April Jean and Dr. Flo are some of the most brilliant political minds.
Absolutely.
I know I'm leaving somebody out, but some of the most brilliant political minds that we have the luxury that they are doing this work for free
free.
to research all of this and give us the best answers that are going to help Black people
Yes.
and Black women.
Shout them
And so
out.
I hold close the Sacramento Sister Voter Guide, and I implore white people all the time to say that you support Black women, that you need to vote like Black women.
Well,
And so I always use the Sacramento Sister Voter Guide, but there's a couple of things happening in Sacramento right now that's kind of shady with some of these measures. And like one of them is Measure C. That's rent control, right, Eric? Am I wrong? It's rent control.
That's right.
And we're finding that the same thing that's happening on the state is happening locally with there's like, you know, rich companies that don't want it to pass. And so we have to make sure that we're paying attention to where those dollars are flowing.
is that yes or no on Measure C?
Oh, it's a yes.
Period.
Yes.
No, well, I wanted her to say it for the show.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
for
yes
sure.
on Measure C. And also the Strong Mayor Initiative, Measure A. If Darrow Steinberg gets that Strong Mayor Initiative, that fool is going to turn into Lord Farquaad. And we're all going to be back on a bus out at Shrek's place.
So yes or no on Measure A?
No.
No on Measure A.
A hell no.
Hell to the no, no, no.
If you write
Hell
hell no,
no.
they're not
I
going to
think-
count
I
your
think-
vote.
To the no, no.
I think
no.
on the sister guide, I think they actually put hell no on there.
They did. I was so just the whole thing. Just reading it was enjoyable.
It was
'Cause I'm
dope.
like,
It's beautiful.
This is like
Only the way that Black people can do it.
right, exactly.
Right.
I'm like,
Only
this is hitting my spirit. Just the way that it
Yes.
was just.
It was for us.
portrayed.
It was
Right,
by us
for
for
us.
us.
Like
Yes.
Fugu me
seriously.
right now, bro.
I was like, thank you for posting
They
this. Like,
came all the way through with this voter guide.
So we will post that, so that way if you guys wanted to look at that, for you guys that are in Sacramento, that and there was a lot. It actually went into Placer County and a bunch of other neighboring counties as well. So we will make sure that is available for those that are listening to the show. Is there any other?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I had a really interesting experience on Facebook yesterday. I was just strolling through like I normally do, and I saw this white lady with these 2 Black children.
For the school district board.
For a school district board.
I saw it.
So her name is Jessie Ryan.
Oh
my God.
Eric laughed.
So I took what she posted because she was complaining about people making comments about her tokenizing her Black children. Right? These white tears were flowing. And so I posted. So I'm teaching an online class of it's a couple hundred white people all over the world that I'm teaching unpacking racism. And so I posted what she posted in there, and one woman said something that was really, really, really good. She said, "This is the most dangerous type of white woman." She has, because her covert racism is so slick. Unless you start really looking at what she's saying, because what she's saying is that I'm a savior. How can I be racist?
Didn't Malcolm X? Didn't he warn
Warn
us
us
about
about
that?
yeah.
He said that a white liberal is way more dangerous than a white conservative.
Absolutely. And the way she is going about this race.
You should thank me because I have these Black children. I should have the Black vote.
Right. And she inboxed me and shared some very deeply personal things about her children that a white mother should not ever be talking about their Black kids' trauma the way that she did. Yes, I'm going in right now because I'm livid, and I saw this happen with the last school board race with Cecile Nunley running against Kevin McCarthy's wife. That well, she's a white Latino, but these educated, overqualified Black women up against these progressive sounding and looking white women, and she's talking about she's the I think she's the president of the school of SCUSD, and she's going for District 8 or 7, I think, which is Oak Park. You mean to tell me that Becky knows more about Oak Park than Lavinia Grace Phillips, who has been endorsed by the Teachers Association and the Nurses Association?
How dare you?
She does not.
How dare you?
Yeah. Because she has Black children.
How dare you?
Because she
You
has
can
Black
have Black children and still be
I bet
racist.
you they don't live in the P.
Your
I bet you they don't live in the
proximity-
P.
No, your proximity to blackness does not cure your racism.
No.
Nope.
And it's that white savior complex of her annoyance. How dare anyone question my motives when I have saved these black poor children? I'm not even going to share what she told me about her daughter, but I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. You need to be taught. Proximity to blackness does not cure racism.
Isn't that what we said about what's her name, who was healing people to heal herself?
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing.
That's not going to help you.
It's the same
and
thing.
Amy, the Supreme Court judge, that's Amy, whatever her name is. I just know Amy because that's
what's showing up.
She talked about her black children the same way, did the tokenizing, and I commented, like, you have to be conscious of the historical way that white women have exploited black children like handbags.
Right.
No, you can't parade your children around. No. And yes, you do.
No.
So no, you don't get to play by the same rules because you chose black children. You can't complain about how white people are able to take pictures with their kids because them are white kids.
Right.
You chose black children.
Yeah.
And I feel bad. I feel bad for those kids.
You wanted the life, now eat it all.
Well,
eat it all.
But it's nasty because it makes you think, did you pick black children as a strategic?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. So it makes it even more disgusting because you did not save them for their own good. You did it because it was a photo op for you. And it looked good on paper because now, I can appeal to black voters because I have black children. I know what it's like. But
I'm
you don't know
play
what
for
it's like.
you what she said, okay? And now this is what I said about overt and covert racism. What she said sounds good, especially if you're white and you don't know no better.
You have a U.S. Oh, I can't do it. Never mind.
I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to play it.
I just want to begin by sharing that my husband reminded me the other day that I have spent 2 months of evenings and weekends away from my children over the course of the last year. And he reminded me that because he said, I hope you understand that what you're doing on the board must make a difference. It must make a difference to upend a system that has for decades failed students who look just like my children. Okay. And we have allowed that system to be inequitable by design due to a lack of courage and appetite to have the courageous conversations and make the necessary changes to focus on children. I love our teachers and have many teacher friends throughout the school district, some of whom have come to me and said this ugly and painful rhetoric must stop. And when I looked at my husband and said the sacrifices are worth something, I have said I will be able to look my children in the eyes one day and say, I refuse to accept a system that didn't serve our children. I refuse to accept a system that didn't focus on student achievement as the center of everything we do.
Okay.
Bullshit.
Girl.
Bro.
There's a lot to unpack right there.
Listen.
I, me,
Listen.
my. Yeah.
Listen, your children, look them in the eye. I refuse my children. Nigga, you ain't slick. We see through all that bullshit.
I don't even know what to say. So that's
so what give me 2 chihuahuas, bro.
So she's voting. So she's running in the Oak Park district. We need to.
Yeah, she's basically saying I'm gonna save these black children, and in 20 years I'll be able to look them in the face and say I'm a good white person. Look what I've done.
She's gonna save the children of Oak Park the same way that she saved their children.
But I think the last thing I'm gonna say is what's most troubling about her is that she is very good at articulating racism, but and this is very typical of white women. They can be very good at articulating oppression and how it affects black people, except how their own racism perpetuates the same systems they're trying to change. And until sis can talk about her privilege and how her ideology affects black people, I don't need you speaking for my
because
people.
it's easy for her to find the disadvantages of being black, right? And then parade around how I've saved 2 black children from those
and not speak on her privilege and
how it exactly.
And
that's
how
what you need to be talking about.
And how white terrorism tears Black families apart in the first place.
Yeah.
You're not saving
that's a bar.
anything.
Yeah.
You're
All you're
riveting.
doing
You're
is
riveting.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna make you making
And
it up
taking
for
up
somebody's
space.
fault.
Right.
Exactly.
Taking up
And
space.
taking up
Taking up
space.
space.
Perfect.
Thank you, Becky.
Look at Eric, bro. Eric is like,
Eric
man,
is
look
weak.
at him.
All right, Eric. Who? Any?
And Maureen Craft, Elk Grove, she would be the first Black woman elected to city council in her district. Is District 3 in Elk Grove is huge.
Yes.
Okay.
And she follows us on Instagram. I was gonna vote.
She's
for
dope. She's dope. She's really, really
Okay.
dope.
Dope.
She's really, really
her.
dope.
And if Maureen, if you are listening, you are always welcome on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, like the next one.
So, Eric, any important measures that us here living in Sacramento need to pay attention to outside of measure A and C?
Hey man, y'all killed that one.
Okay.
So I don't even need to give too much more. I think that measure A is an interesting thing because Mayor Kevin Johnson, who used to be our mayor, had certain or was trying to also do strong mayor, and it was voted no, 53 to 47, some years ago. It's come back now. I think it was 6 years ago when they tried to do strong mayor.
Right.
And it's interesting because essentially the system that we have now makes the mayor one of 9 city council members.
Right. He's a glorified city council member.
Right.
You don't like that.
So something to keep in mind because that's the case, we have a city manager, and I know Rob, what the city manager is capable of doing. You know what the city manager does. I'd encourage all of you guys and all of your listeners to look up who the city manager of Sacramento is. Look up how that person gets selected. And something that is important to keep in mind, the city manager makes more money than the mayor does. The city manager makes $250,000 a year. And most people in Sacramento don't know who the city manager is.
Howard Chan. And people don't realize that the police, Chief Han, reports directly to Howard Chan.
Yeah.
If there was a police officer that could have been fired, Howard Chan could have told the chief, fire him.
Right.
But Howard goes underneath the radar.
Right.
He's an administrator, basically. He goes underneath the. He's
And
not a politician like that, where he's he's appointed. Am I right, Eric?
Right. He's appointed by the city council. So I say all that just to say, like, please at least look up who the city manager is. Look up how ways that we can either hold the city manager accountable if we need to. So in situations where we do want a police officer to be either fired or reprimanded, we want to know, okay, who do we need to hold accountable if that's something that we want to see get done? And if it doesn't get done, what can we do as voters, as citizens in Sacramento? What can we do to follow up to make sure that something happens next time or whatever the case might be? And
to be clear, just because I know somebody's probably going to ask this, city manager, that's not a termed position. That is the position that you are employed as long as the council wants you employed, correct? So that's not something that we have a decision on, which is why I think me and you were talking about that strong mayor measure, where if we vote basically that we don't want the strong mayor measure, that again the council will keep the city manager employed as long as they are wanting to keep him employed.
Right, that's absolutely correct. So I just encourage everybody to look at that, to recognize what the city manager's power currently is, who the city manager is, and kind of what that process is. Just so we're all informed. I don't want people to think that just because we're all in favor of voting no on strong mayor, that means that we as people will have more power.
Correct.
Because the mayor doesn't, but the city manager still got power.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that people all are informed as best they can, especially Elika. I know you've seen those city council meetings that can go on for hours and hours, just yelling and berating city council members or the mayor for a number of reasons, but the city manager ain't ever getting berated in that way.
Correct.
And in many situations, in many situations, the city manager's at home.
Exactly. The person we should be mad at. And I think Dr. Flo would be a great city manager. I'm just going to put that out there.
Oh, yeah.
Because Howard Chan, and we talked about the anti-blackness in the Asian community. I would say that his response to police shootings in Sacramento is very reflective and indicative of how Asian Americans view black people, that we're not deserving of justice.
This is the third time we've made it to this conversation.
Now, mind you,
saying.
we got some real strong allies in the Asian community. I want to bring that up. Mai Vang is a huge ally to black people. Mai Vang is amazing in how she stands up for black people and how she also checks her own people about their own anti-blackness. So we need those kind of allies.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. Please, I encourage everybody. I know we talked about measures on here, but look at the candidates who are running for city council.
Right.
I mean, we know that city council and your local school boards, those are the people that make decisions in your local communities that really impact you on a daily basis.
Right.
I mean, you look at how your school system is doing, and I know a number of you guys have young children. And it's important that we have people with diverse backgrounds, people who are intellectual, people who understand our community in these positions. And at the city council level, making sure that each city council member is actually from the community that they represent, that they embrace, especially the members of the community who need to have representation in City Hall. So just keep all these things in mind. The measures are really important, but so are the elected officials and the representatives that we put into City Hall and into our school boards to make sure that they're representing our interests as well.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, Eric, man, for all your knowledge, for giving us all that information. As what he said, as what we all say here on the podcast, to make sure that you are informed when you are making any decision. And just even in school, I was always taught to do the research on my own, because you never want to trust the source that's giving you the information. You always want to do your own independent research. So when you're voting, a lot of times you're voting to put your taxes to work. So whatever your money's going to, you need to know where it's going, who's handling it, and why is it going to where, and who's funding it. So
and also stay informed, not just during voting time.
Oh, man.
Because somebody was just saying, I forgot what I was looking at, but they were saying you wouldn't give an accountant your money and then come back in 4 years and be like, oh, what did you do with it?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you supposed to be.
Because we got the primaries. We're going to be voting for delegates soon. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different things.
Go to these meetings. They public.
It's and public. On Zoom, because we.
That too. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, stay informed and not just wait until it's time.
The whole time.
Right.
And you don't gotta know everything. Just know like what you're supposed to know for where you live. Like I don't have to know about all the districts.
Right.
I mean, I like to know because I like to, voice my opinion. But all I gotta know is who's the council member in my district, who's my rep, who's my congressperson, and like who my school board people are. Like those are
and Elika, I would challenge you on that one just to say there are certain members outside of our districts that we should hold even to a higher standard, and those are the black members.
Okay.
The black members throughout the state of California. I know, Dr. Shirley Weber represents San Diego, but she represents black people.
Yes.
She represents black women.
Yes.
She represents black children. She represents black families. Yes. And she, among all the other black women who are in the state assembly, our city council has several black men. These black men need to be held to a higher standard.
Absolutely.
They not only represent their districts, but they represent black people in Sacramento.
And they haven't done a good job. And we're just going to go ahead and say that. We have three grown-ass black men on our city council, and the state of our communities is absolute, utter garbage. And so what have they done other than exploit our people for votes? Because we support our black men. Because we know, like, if they win, or what we're told, if they win, then we win. That's how it's supposed. That is our social contract. But they've broken that social contract, and they need to be held accountable for that.
We heard that yesterday when I sent you guys that interview.
It's facts.
It's all facts, man.
Yeah.
if you're listening,
Quid pro quo.
if you're listening, please do the homework that they're telling you to get educated and informed on who does what. So we just want to thank you, Eric, man. I know that it's your Saturday. I know, that you're probably relaxing, man. You had some good news that you got added onto the council. So we just want to just thank you, man, for taking out your time and spending it with us and our audience. As we do with all of our guests, we played the fun game of One's Gotta Go.
Yes.
And I know that you're a TV buff, or you don't watch too many TV shows, but the shows that you do watch, I'm assuming are probably on this list. So we're going to go with One's Gotta Go. Steph.net's going to go ahead and kick it to you.
Let's go. One's Gotta Go. Lovecraft Country, The Wire, The Sopranos, or Breaking Bad.
All right, so first of all, this is a great list of shows. I have seen all these shows, and first of all, let me say I should be wearing my shirt. I'm always voting for the black. I'm always rooting for black folks,
bro.
So let me start with that. So the first two are off. They coming through no matter what. The top two, Lovecraft and The Wire. I ain't getting rid of them.
Okay.
So it's coming down to The Sopranos and Breaking Bad, and this one's just a personal thing. I like both shows a lot, but for me, I like The Sopranos a little bit more than I like Breaking Bad. And I like Breaking Bad a lot.
That was my show.
But I just think for me, I just like crime family, New York, New Jersey, East Coast, old school HBO. I was a younger person when I watched it, so maybe it holds a certain spot in my heart because I was so young when I was watching it. But for me, Breaking Bad would be
Breaking Bad gotta go.
It gotta go.
For you too?
I'm going with Breaking Bad.
I'm going with Breaking Bad too because as a former criminal, as a reformed man of God, you know what I mean? Hallelujah! A nigga that beat multiple felony charges. You know what I'm saying? Sopranos, man.
Sopranos is
like you
hard.
said,
Dude, if you need a lawyer,
no, it's too late. You wasn't there when I needed you.
No.
You need a lawyer, holler at me, bro.
We might need you. Can we keep you on retainer? We're going to keep you on retainer.
Listen, I'm not black business for attorneys on my behalf. I'm not interested. I'm staying out of the way. But growing up, I kind of wanted to be a mobster, bro.
Yeah, Sopranos is hard. Steph, we already know your answer. I didn't know your answer.
You don't know my answer. Go ahead, sis.
Oh, I only seen Lovecraft Country.
Oh, she
Okay.
like I can't. She might.
I like political.
She's
I like
too busy,
political.
bro. She's too busy
Yeah, I'm
for
too
regular
busy.
people stuff.
If you like political, you would love The Wire.
Okay.
The Wire is political.
it is?
It's all about
And
politics.
sometimes I can't do too much violence because
It's not too bad.
bitch got PTSD.
It's not too
Well,
bad.
towards the end, it does get a little violent. But
I like the Ozarks though. The Ozark was good.
I
if
haven't
you like
watched that
Ozark,
one.
you would love The Wire.
Okay.
The Wire is great.
Okay, so it's the Sopranos.
Y'all see
The
y'all. Why y'all gonna
Wire.
hype up The
Steph,
Wire
Steph,
like
Steph,
this?
Steph, like that.
What was the last one?
It was
Breaking
Lovecraft,
Bad.
The Wire, The Sopranos, or Breaking Bad.
Oh, Breaking Back and Go.
Okay, Breaking Bad looks like it's a general consensus pick except for one. Go ahead and tell your pick.
Y'all want to hype up The Wire, knowing I was gonna say The Wire gotta go.
Oh, dang.
Y'all knew I was gonna say that. That's why he did all that.
Wait, why?
Niggas is always talking about how they love black people. And then when it comes time to support black people,
Black people aren't a monolith, okay?
She used that
The
against
Wire got to go. Period. Okay? I'm sorry. I just could not. I tried to watch The Wire for 6 months.
Really?
And it took me 6 months to get through the first season.
It's
Then
a
we get
slow
to the
start.
second season. I went through all of this, and as soon as it got good, the last 2 episodes, then season 2's completely different.
Yeah, so it's a slow start, but
And
it's-
people said it don't get good till season 3.
No,
Why would I watch
no,
something for
no,
3 seasons
no,
before it get
no.
good?
It ain't a pot of greens.
No, it's really good at the beginning. So look, the only season that you gotta kind of tough through is the season at the docks.
That's
the only
season 2.
That's season 2. But after that,
I can.
No, look. Okay, so
I
let
have
me
not
let
made
me
it through season 2, bro.
let me explain to Elika why it's so good, because it covers. So it's about Baltimore when they were going through their crack epidemic. So it covers the police department from an angle. Then it covers the mayors and the politicians. It covers the projects. It covers the newspaper. So every season covers a different angle of what's going on in the city. So it shows the corruption. It shows the police department, how like the police brutality. It shows the guys that are on the corner selling the drugs and how it's all connected. And at the end, it brings it all together. It's really good. It actually shows the school system too. I think in like season 5.
I'm gonna
good.
try to give it another chance, but as of right now, I'm stuck at the docks and I can't get past
Look,
it.
you can skip the doc. Look, no, you can skip the doc season and it will still all make sense.
Yeah, and man, the school season, the season about the school children and just the school system in Baltimore, and the disparities and just, man, that season. I think that was season either 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That was just,
Yeah, it's dope.
boy.
It's dope.
I'm gonna have to skip 2 because I'm telling you,
2.
it was like 6 months,
I
and I'm
skip
like,
2?
Skip
I've
2.
fell asleep
Skip
on
2.
this for 6 months.
No,
Like I
season
cannot
2
get through this.
was hard, and I didn't understand why they even had season 2 in there until the very end of it, and then it all made sense too, because on the docks there was a lot of drugs that was getting brought in, and then also there was a lot of like trafficking where
But
there
see,
were dead
yeah,
bodies showing
I
up.
get that part, but I was like, from season 1, it was like the last like 2
No,
episodes that
know.
I really got invested in those characters,
Right.
and then you want to switch
then
it over
switch
to
the whole show,
I'm like,
yeah.
who are these white people?
Yeah, no, skip 2,
That happens
skip
to me
2.
all the time.
Skip 2 and go on to 3. So, all right, Eric, man, we gonna let you go so you can enjoy your Saturday, man. We appreciate you listening.
It was good
And,
seeing you, Daddy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, man.
Daddy.
Oh, God.
Hold on.
Hey,
Hold on.
man.
Hold on.
Wait, you gotta wait till I
Hold
put my
on.
headphones back on.
Hold on.
I
Hold
need
on.
to hear him.
I'm not an ableist, but he's able. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Oh.
Are you recording him?
Hey, listen. I just had one question before you left, bro. I came back in a hurry. What's your favorite flavor ice cream?
Oh
dog?
my God.
What? What's going on?
Yo, yo,
31 flavors.
Oh, 31 flavors.
yo, some boys.
All right, man. We gonna let you go. We gonna let you
All
go.
right, man. I appreciate
Yes,
y'all.
sir,
All right,
man.
Eric, good talking
and,
to you.
And congratulations again.
Appreciate you.
All right,
So
all right.
weak.
Peace.
All right,
This be
peace.
so fun.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Awesome.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye, Daddy.
All right. So for those that usually listen to the podcast, for those that don't, we're going to go on to our next segment, which is the Internet Wins Again. This is probably the most popular part of our
God.
show, where we're
Popular.
talking about all the toxic stuff that's going on the internet.
Toxicity.
So we're going to go ahead and get into the Internet Wins Again.
Oh gosh.
Here we go.
I cut the air down, bro. It's freezing.
My toes. Y'all, you know what? I think it's disrespectful to invite people to your house and you don't warn them beforehand, then they got to take their shoes
Let me
off.
see your feet.
No! I take quarantining seriously.
You see, I got my socks on every
I wish I should have
episode.
warned
Yeah, it is a little chilly in here,
my toes.
but it's about to get hot.
So corny.
We-
good.
right. I'm so
We
done.
dads,
All
bro. His dad jokes work.
I know. They work. They work.
They
They
work,
work.
bro.
They work a
I
little bit.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So, first topic we're gonna talk about today. Man, they try to cancel my boy Ice Cube, man. They
Yeah,
tried
you
to
know how I
cancel
feel
my
about
boy
Ice Cube.
I heard
You
he
know how
melted.
I love Ice Cube.
I know. I
Ding,
we
ding.
all love Ice Cube.
I heard they
done
calling him Puddle now.
Oh.
I'm like, when I said not Ice Cube.
Come
Not
on.
Ice Cube.
So they tried to cancel my boy Ice Cube, man,
what'd he do,
because
bro?
he made the contract with Black America. He used some other people to help get that situated.
Mm-hmm.
He, long story short, found out that
What'd he find out?
supposedly his people was working with the Republicans. They tweeted saying, basically thanking him for helping them with the platinum plan that Trump put out. And needless to say, people were pretty upset. They tried to call and cancel for him. They were upset because, you know, they thought that Ice Cube was working with Donald Trump. So,
Dumpster Donnie.
Dumpster Donnie. So we're gonna go around the room. We're gonna give our opinions, give our thoughts on Ice Cube, and whether we're upset with Mr. Cube or if we actually understand where Cube is coming from.
Let's start with the ladies. Ladies
Be a
first.
gentleman.
Yeah.
So how do we? So what are their reactions? Are we? How do we feel about Ice Cube producing the contract with Black America?
Well, she
and
said
how do
he
we
melted,
feel?
so he's a puddle.
You know, I'm not even gonna talk about what's in the contract because I know what's not in it. That's what concerns me. I think my biggest issue is that this is like a pattern of Black men celebrities. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I come from community organizing, I know like there are people on the ground that's really doing that work, and rich Black people don't ever consult with the people on the ground that are doing the work. And I think they also are out of touch with organizers. Like what use does Ice Cube have for a black prison abolitionist? Like he doesn't have, that's not in his community. And so it doesn't surprise me that he probably really thought he was doing something. And by him doing that, he left out the voices of a lot of Black people that have been doing the work. That's what I have the biggest issue with. And then also understand Donald Trump called Pastor John Gray, Steve Harvey, Ice Cube. Who else? What other dummy? What's the one with the fucked up hairline? He's a pastor.
There's a lot of them.
All of them.
The Black pastors. Period.
That this is like a pattern. You know what I'm saying? And I know if Donald Trump really wanted to get something done with the Black community, you think he's gonna call Ice Cube? You know what I'm saying? There's Pastor Ben McBride from Oakland. You know what I'm saying? That's the homie. You think Donald Trump is gonna want to meet with a real one? No, he's gonna meet with whoever he can bamboozle to make it look like he's doing something. And Ice Cube has a huge following of Black men. And Donald Trump understands that if he can get enough Black men to vote for him, that's going to flip it in a lot of states. And so I just feel like it was a tactic. He got used. He didn't really understand what he was doing, but he probably thought he was doing something good. So I don't fault him for that, but I do fault the disconnection between him and Black organizers.
I think too, I think you said it, Rob, on a previous episode, how Black men's response to trauma is to try to get the bag and get rich. And a lot of Black men want to be in that position that Cube is in. So that's why Donald Trump picks people like him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he wants to be able to identify with Black men. He definitely ain't trying to identify with Black. He ain't trying to get us.
He ain't
trying to get Black women.
Exactly. That's what I said. Name one Black woman besides Omarosa that none.
It's not. And it's you could tell by, again, who he's choosing to sit down with that he's not serious. He's just trying to appeal to y'all.
And why don't Black men see that?
Right. To Black men, period.
I'm a Black alien.
There we go.
And I just hate that Cube allowed himself. I do feel like his heart was in the right place. But you got to think, they've been rich for how long now?
So you're saying that he's disconnected?
Definitely. You've been rich for a long time.
I think number one, I think Cube does come from disenfranchised beginnings. I do think his heart was in the right place. He did consult Dr. Claude Anderson from Powernomics. He did consult with some of the leaders of the movements in LA. So he didn't go blindly, but when you do something like this, it's imperative to have a overtime process, right? You have to spend the time going into the different communities, and you have to spend the time really collecting data, and you can't collect data in the span of a election process,
right?
You know what I'm saying? So I agree with both of you guys in the fact that I think that he's well connected. With the struggle, right? Yeah. But then over time, the struggle changes.
Correct.
And we want different things because, like we keep saying, Black people aren't a monolith. So you can have your ideology of what it is. I think that it was very irresponsible to be put in a position to be used as a Black male that's supporting Donald Trump, even though he wasn't supporting Trump, because I think that Cube genuinely wanted to go get whatever was best for black people. I think the meetings were set up to say, this is what we need. And I think his intent was to get intel and see who's going to give us the most of what we want and then come back and present that as the best candidate. But I think that not being responsible and understanding how politics work, he allowed his name to be used and associated as a tool, like you said earlier, as a tool to be for Donald Trump. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
I'm glad he responded.
No, he did. But when he did that, again, the biggest thing I always talk about with G Focus offline is the division, right? And what that did for us was it divided us again.
A distraction.
It was another distraction from what the larger picture was. So I think that Cube had good intentions, and he didn't just do it to appeal to the to black men, but Cube has a huge white following of people that weren't initially going to vote for Donald Trump, white men and white women alike, right? Because Ice Cube is on he's a different spectrum of a celebrity, right? As opposed to like if the same thing with 50. 50 has a huge white following. Yeah. Right?
That's
and
real.
So they affect different, it's not just for us, but they understand that there is an audience for those particular people. So I just so that's what I got.
I think for me, I think probably the biggest thing that came into question first was the timing.
Horrible.
It's right before elections. But then when I started listening to the interviews and started getting a better understanding of what he was trying to do, to me, I think people unfairly jumped to the council train right off the bat.
Oh yeah, he didn't need to be canceled.
No, and to me it's like okay, first pump the brakes and just listen to what the man has to say. What I was kind of taken back at is the anger was on was on Ice Cube and not on the Joe Biden Harris administration. So from my understanding, he presented the plan to both.
Correct. And they denied it.
And no, first he presented it to the Democratic Party. And then they said, hey, this looks great, but we'll look at this a little bit further after the election. So then he gave it to both. And then Trump said, hey, let's look at this. Let's see, whatever. And they were more interested in that. I guess they updated their financial plan, which ended up being the platinum plan. And then they put it out. So for me, it's like, why are we upset with Cube and not more upset with Joe Biden and Harris by saying, if this is a contract for Black America, which, again, I don't want to dispute what's in it. But what I do want to say is that it's troubling to me that outside of this document, we don't have anything that shows what is best for us as a unified front. Obviously, Cube did work with Derek Hamilton. He did work with Claude Anderson. He did work some other people that he said were smarter than him. So it wasn't just his document. It was a living, breathing document, which he said he's open to change if people are going to come and give him the advice. So for me, it's like, as black people, we can't continually keep going through these elections being tied to one party, because what ends up happening is, and I'm not saying that we should endorse Donald Trump at all. You guys already know how I feel about Donald Trump. What I'm saying is it puts us in a position where we put all of our eggs in one basket. So let's say the Democrats lose this election and we were all tied to them. So then that means we're sitting out another 4 years with somebody else that's in power, Donald Trump, that we have no ties to, no nothing. So all the politics is basically quid pro quo, where you, hey, I'll give you this, and then you give me that. But if we're going to be in this situation where every single time that, we're not going to deal with them because of their overt racism, but we're cool with dealing with people that have covert racism, we're putting ourselves in a bad position because then, again, you're either sitting out on the sideline or you're waiting for somebody to make good on a promise that they were never intending on doing. So where does that leave us at?
I feel like this, though, bro. I feel like as a celebrity and understanding what your power and your position is, you are responsible for making great decisions at this point.
Right.
Because you have to understand that your influence is huge. You have huge influence over the way that people think, how they move, and the way that they react to this election.
Right.
So I think that people were mad at him for the wrong thing.
Right.
Right? They were mad at him because he had his parties had conversations and parties and meetings with Donald's people, right?
Right.
But what they should have been more mad about is the fact that he allowed it to be used as a additional benefit for the Republican Party.
Understand
by itself, right? So
Yeah.
I think a part of the responsibility is understanding that these elections were coming a long time ago, and if that was going to be what you're supposed to do, there's nothing you're going to change in anyone's mind for voting, a week or two, just a week before the election. That's pretty much. But I appreciate him for even taking the time to do such.
That's
but
real.
it was just interpreted the wrong way, and I think the timing was awful. Intent can be good, but sometimes the intent does more harm than help.
Right. Well, and I again, that's what I'm saying. I think the timing may have been a little bit questionable, but again, I think what he's thinking of, which I think to me is how we should be dealing with politics in general, is these are our demands. Who's going to address them?
Exactly.
And then whoever addresses them again, okay, then you're not going to get the black vote for nothing. You're going to get the black vote if you were able to give us our demands. Then we'll give you the vote, not this. Obviously, again, the timing is a little off. But even in this situation, if let's say Trump does win, then hey, I'm willing to meet with you. Let's sit down and let's figure out how we can do at least some good things for the black community. Or if Biden and them win, okay, hey, I'm expecting for us to meet, because these are still our demands. Our demands are not going to change.
Right.
It's just
you
depending
crazy
on
if
Who's gonna give it to us?
The way politics work, Democrats aren't getting by without working with the Republicans. They can't.
Right.
They have to at some
Look
point.
at Nancy Pelosi.
At some point they have to.
Right. Well,
at some point you're gonna need a Republican vote.
And that's what he was
some,
saying.
you
He
know
was
what I mean?
saying that black issues should be a bipartisan issue.
Yes.
It should not
I
be just
agree.
a Democrat or a Republican. It should
absolutely
be
agree.
y'all get together and he was saying that y'all work together on wars, y'all work together on the stimulus package, y'all work together on all these other issues.
But we're an
so
afterthought
why is
as
it
a
that y'all
people.
can't work together on black issues and come together and do that? And until that can happen, then you have to do, okay, look, this is a contract. If we give you the vote, then you need to then address these things, which is, I think we talked about that first episode. We're talking about abstaining the vote and making sure that we get exactly what it is that we deserve and that what we demand. So,
but the problem is, like we have been stating the whole episode, is that it has to start before a month before the. You know what I'm saying?
You
like,
can't do it. You can't do it a week before the election. A week, because it's just too dangerous at this point.
right.
Yep.
It's just too dangerous. It's just too dangerous at this point to make those kind of plays, because the influence that he has. Q moves millions of people.
yeah, I'm just not mad at it. I more looked at it like, again, if the Democratic Party is serious about meeting with black people and all this other stuff, it was just kind of disheartening to then see that, okay, hey, that's cool. We'll talk about that after the election.
And also, like, I'm not looking to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for, like, political directions on the black community.
Exactly. That's true.
We're just using Biden. We don't like him. We don't care about Biden.
He's a one-term election president.
If that, because he got one foot in the grave and one on a banana
We
bill.
just said we can't make fun of those people with disabilities.
You did.
It's hard.
It's hard. But on the debate, I was like, Joe, come on, man.
Hey,
he had so
dying.
many layups,
He
and I
was
was
dying,
like,
bro. He was dying.
We're just using Joe to get Trump out.
yes.
And I hope people realize that, like, Joe Biden is not the answer to our problems, not the answer
Amen.
to our prayers.
Amen.
Neither is Kamala Harris.
Oh, amen.
And that,
That whole
when
situation is weird.
when he gets into office, we're gonna have to fight just as hard, because Joe Biden is covert racism, and that's harder to fight than shit. I got him backwards.
Yeah.
It's harder to fight covert racism.
Yes.
And so we're gonna have to work twice as hard. It may be a little bit easier, but if we don't take the Senate back, if we do not fill these seats, these judges' seats, these Senate seats, these House of Representative seats, it's not going to matter if Joe Biden is in there or not, because the same thing that happened with Obama.
It's gonna happen again.
It's gonna happen again, and we're gonna be mad at the Republicans. They just playing. They just holding their
And then
cards.
that's what
Like
they
you
say.
said, that's the answer.
That's what they say. They say, "Oh, well, Obama didn't do anything. He didn't have the assistance to get it. He didn't."
I mean, we're not going to talk about Obama's anti-blackness because he got a white mama. But I will say that he tried. he tried.
I was waiting for you.
We voted for Michelle. He was the plus one. I I didn't even know he was coming.
Now let's keep it a buck. Now, when we asked about the barbecue, didn't I say that Biden was Obama's +1? You see how you see how shit rolls down.
Barack Obama.
He said it rolls down.
Listening to this podcast. That was not G_focus. I want you on the show, sir.
Trying to keep his name clear.
I'm trying to get 45.
Keeping it real. He went to Obama went to Flint and asked for a glass of water.
Oh, he did.
He sure did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yes.
He did. Okay.
He took off. I'm done with you.
Y'all forget like that
because
You so dramatic.
The audacity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The audacity to have Jaden Smith be the hero. And
Yeah.
The audacity.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, does anyone have a glass of water? Oh, forgot it didn't fix the pipes.
Remember that?
I do remember that.
Disrespectful.
It is.
They still don't have water, bro.
They still don't got water.
Yeah.
To this day.
Shout out to Jaden Smith, man.
Shout out to little JJ with your little weird self. Talking
You
about
are-
black people
you
don't
are
like
an
you. We
icon.
like you.
I do.
You're
Shout
an
out to
icon
Jaden,
living,
man.
son. You said
Period.
Shout out to Jaden.
He is.
I am just an icon living.
So yeah, I think with what you just brought up, I think that's where there's some issues, because if it wasn't, and again, there's not really a perfect time to do it, but this was probably the worst time to bring it up. With this a little bit of time left in the election, and with so much at stake, is like in any other election, just like what we're saying, I'm all for abstaining the vote. I'm all for I'm all for abstaining the vote.
Realize there's 4 whole years that you could have
Before.
been doing
Right.
shit,
Right.
and you wait till a month before. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
That-
that's
that's-
the part that
that's
blows
the-
my mind.
that's the issue.
You talk about, well, it never was right time. He had hella time.
Well, and he said that he had it ready. It was if you read some articles, there's from July, there's
I
from
don't
whatever.
need political
But
direction from
he-
celebrities. From
He
black
had the whole
celebrities.
COVID-19, nigga.
I know, and
Ain't
again,
been doing nothing but been at the house.
yeah.
Come on.
And again,
I love you,
the
Q,
timing
yo.
was not good, and I agree with that.
Q,
But-
you're a legend,
but,
bro.
but the strategy, the strategy behind it, I agree with. I agree with the
I
strategy.
do too.
And like I said, I already told you, I'm a proponent for abstaining the vote, because again, I'm not tied to no Democratic Party. I'm not tied to Republican Party. Obviously, I vote Democrat because for the most part, again, it's
They're
easier.
a little bit more progressive.
They're
but they
more
have
plausible.
A lot of overt racism.
A lot of issues. Yeah.
A lot of overt
Which
racism.
I'm not agree. Like I said, Joe
Yeah.
Biden, not my first pick.
No.
It's not my 5th pick.
Not my-
So
He ain't even in the top
he ain't
5.
even in the top 10. But because I hate Trump so much, I don't want Trump. You
gotta do
again,
what you gotta do.
He's in there to get Trump out. So
We got to play chess like Trump is. Come on now.
I don't know if we're playing chess with Joe, but it's like, sorry.
I'm
What's that
with
game
the-
where you are trouble?
I'm
What's
with
that
Elika.
game where
I'm
you have
like,
the double?
I'm with Elika. I'm like, let him get in and hope he might have a stroke, and then boom.
I didn't
Come
say
on.
that.
She did not say
What
that.
it says.
She did not say
She
that.
said
Like,
one
don't put
foot-
no words in my
one-
mouth,
one-
bruh.
One foot in the grave is just one step over, bro.
Good.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next topic that stirred up a little controversy. Jemele Hill, former ESPN journalist,
Oh my God.
she tweeted a tweet that kind of caused a little bit of stir on Twitter and even in our Reverb Nation Facebook group. Which, if you're not in there, please make sure that you follow us and join the
It's
group
lit.
so you can talk about it. She, like I said, caused a little controversy. So we're gonna have Steph.net go ahead and read the tweet.
Yeah, she said, I have increasingly found that many black men just want better access to patriarchy. They don't actually want it dismantled. And in turn, we had what was the hashtag?
Blame black
Blame
men.
black men.
Did
was
she
that?
do that?
No, this was a response
This
to
was
her
a
tweet.
Fragile response. Okay.
Come on now. That was the response
It was
to her
satire.
tweet. Yeah, it was
It was
satire
satire.
from black men. So, I mean, can we first talk about is what she said? Do y'all believe what she said? There's
Read it
some.
one more time.
She said, I have increasingly found that many black men just want better access to patriarchy. They don't actually want it dismantled. We talked about it on the
We
group.
talked
I know
about
where
it
you
in the
I
stand.
think okay, so I'm gonna say that it is in my teaching of racism, in understanding the power structure in the United States. When you understand all of that, you understand how colorism works. You understand how sexism works. When you understand the power structure in the United States. When I talk to white women about their racism, the fragility that I get it's the same as when I talk to black men about their sexism, because it's the same system. It's the same fragility I get when I talk about my privilege as a cisgendered black woman in comparison to a trans woman, and me having privilege. I've had fragility in unpacking my own privilege. It's not natural. It is a byproduct of privilege to not want to look at yourself in the mirror and see that there are ways in which you could be harming people with your privilege. And I think black men especially have a hard time looking at themselves as not the heroes of our community, and not like, it's not an easy reflection.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to look at your demographic and see that our homicide rate is the highest in the nation. And it's not because white people are killing us. It's because of domestic abuse and domestic violence. Our spouses are killing us. Black men are killing us. And that's a hard pill to swallow. I don't care. You're going to have to deal with that shit, because I'm not going to stop talking about it.
Right.
But it's fragility. Like, black men have so much fragility. You can't say nothing about nothing they're doing wrong. I had someone tell me in the Sacramento Sister Circle that I can't say anything about white supremacy because I don't like black men. And it's like, I'm not allowed to hold, and I said, I don't like black men as a collective, but I love black men as individuals, because how you flex your collective power has hurt me. But as individuals, I have wonderful relationships with black men, but I'm not allowed to hold multiple truths. That one, I can hold you accountable, and two, love you at the same time.
Well,
and I think that's
I just
whack.
wrote that on Facebook.
Come on now, that's
I just wrote that.
That's it.
That was really well put.
That was everything
really
right
I
there.
just wrote that.
I'm automatically an adversary to black men because I point out the ways in which your masculinity or however you show up hurt to me.
Yeah.
I'm an adversary to your whole automatically. Like nothing I've ever done. The fact that I'm raising a black man by my damn self, but I don't like black men.
Right.
You kidding? I love the BBC.
They say that I told you that we have to sacrifice everything to uplift the black man. If we don't sacrifice and put everything else down and uplift the black man, then it's like you're against black men.
Yep.
You're trying to take away from black men. I feel like black men look at the fact that we are all minorities, and we all, like, yes, black men, I'm not saying y'all don't go through anything, but it's hard to turn around. It's hard to turn around and actually admit that you have some privilege of just being a man, and that it hurts black women if you are using that against us.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for them to accept that, because they're like, how could you say I got privilege? We getting killed. We doing all of this is happening. Yeah, that's true, but this is true too.
Right.
Well, two things could be
Things
true.
could be true at the
And
same time.
And so what we talked about earlier today is exactly what you're saying. The truth is, as blacks in a whole, we are losing, right? We're losing, and because we can't come to the table and really have these conversations, then we can't get it together. Because now you're fighting me. And I'm
not fighting you.
No, but I'm saying the perspective of how everybody's thinking is you're fighting against me.
It's the perception.
It's the perception, right?
Of it.
It's because a lot of people aren't mature enough to say, yes, we're all dying, but black women are being treated worse than by black men, right? Or the patriarchy does exist, right? But then a lot of women don't understand that the black community in a whole is a matriarchy. Big Mama's the leader of the family, right? And so
not by choice.
Bingo, not by choice. Not by choice, but because of systemic racism and generational cursings and the way that
Mass
white people have devalued the black man.
Family.
Bingo.
Right.
See, and these are the reasons that we can't get past the things that we talk about, because we don't have these conversations, right? And I swear on my life, man, I love our group. But I swear the only time we ever have these conversations is when we're sitting at the table. Because every other time, it's just fucking chaos. Because nobody wants to really hear the other person. They just want to point fingers at who's at fault. When the reality is, white America is the fault for our problems.
My beef is with white supremacy.
Facts.
Period.
Well, all of our beef is with the white supremacy.
My beef is with the white supremacy in you.
Okay. Well, I don't have any whites.
I'm talking about the internalized racism. My beef is with that. And it's like, why can't you see that if you don't work that shit out, if you don't go to therapy, if you don't uproot the way that black men have adopted how white people see black women?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
if you don't unpack that, what can we do together?
And that's what we talked about on
what
episode 6 when you were saying that when we asked what can black men do better to support black women, the first thing you said was do the work.
But
on yourself.
On yourself.
But the resources are so limited.
Correct.
They're so limited. Like there's only so much that Focus can do, or Photo B can do, or that I can do, and I can go to war every single day, and I talk to everybody about the stuff that we talk about. But fragile masculinity will not allow people to talk into their lives and help them see the bigger picture.
Yes.
Well, that's the problem, is because even when we even try to have these,
they don't want to talk to us about it.
Well,
really?
it's not even that. Like even when we try to have it in the group, the biggest sentiment that I got back was, why are you even saying this? Why this is even being brought up? And it's like they
are you
look
talking about
at
from
it
the guys?
Just in general, just the whole from
because,
women.
yeah, because
But hold
there's
on, but
some
even
women that-
even from women, what they were saying, why are you turning this into who's more oppressed than who conversation? And it's like, okay, you guys are missing the point.
Yeah.
Even with what she was saying, like people were seeing people were reading what she said as all black men. And if you read the tweet, it said so many men that I have found don't want to give up their privilege, quote unquote. I'm just kind of paraphrasing. And it's like, oh, well, she's talking about all black men. No, she didn't. Read the tweet. She said so many that I have encountered. So I said what she's talking about is what she has experienced. And I said, why are we internalizing her experience to then mean us?
Because
I said, if you are internalizing her experience, then either one, you're guilty of it, or two, you feel some kind of way because it may be true. And what I'm saying is, and if it's true, if it makes you feel some kind of way, then you got to unpack that. That's not something for somebody else to not want to talk about, because I think
and it don't
what
discount
we want.
what she said.
It doesn't discount what she says, but when people, this is a natural defensive thing. When people feel attacked, they attack back, right? So this is why I always talk about the way that we communicate. All of the shit is true,
right?
None of it is wrong, right? But because she posted it like that, the people who were most affected by that tweet ran with it, and they made it a big ass thing. And what she intended to get done never got done.
Right, but why do we feel attacked? I guess that's really what you need to get to the root of it.
It's the same way that white people respond when we say white people are doing this to us.
Right.
Not all white people. That's what I'm saying. Like we really got to
me.
look at how white supremacy has taught us to communicate with each other, because the same ways
I like that you keep using that, because that's spot
like
on.
our beef is with white supremacy, and like
true.
and look at the ways in which they treat us is how we treat each other.
And that's the point that I was making, was the same conversation where we say, hey, white supremacists or whatever, just you guys are killing us, like we're dying, you guys are discriminating, you guys are putting your thumb down. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, well,
then
if
the
maybe
gaslighting.
if you protested like this, then it wouldn't happen. Or maybe if you complied, then you wouldn't get killed by the police. Or maybe if you didn't have dreadlocks, then you would be able to get a job. Or maybe if you spoke better, then you would be able to raise the economic ladder. And then if you look at that conversation, it's the same way that black men talk to black women.
Yes.
Oh, black women. Oh, if you maybe tone down your voice a little bit, then we would be better at protecting
so
you.
masculine.
Or what's the other one? Or maybe
if you were more feminine,
politics.
if you dressed a certain way,
black
if you
men
act a
are
certain
only
way.
respectful to black women that they're attracted to.
Well, because that was the whole conversation that we had with the whole J. Cole and No Name thing. It's the same conversation where, again, he said what he said because he felt like that she tweeted against him and he felt some type of way. Then he was like, oh, well, basically, if you guys would maybe watch your tone a little bit, that I would receive the message better. But really, in reality of it is, she wasn't even tweeting for you, and you took it personal. And then you.
I had to ask my husband about that, because like what you were saying as far as like them respecting black women that they're attracted to, because I had that conversation with him, and I'm like, I'm in a group with mostly gay black men, and I'm like, why do they go so hard for us like off the bat? And he's like, well, that's because they're not attracted to you. It's not based on their attraction to you. It's just based on love. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn. And for that to come from him, I'm like, damn, that's I didn't even think about it like that. Like, it's true. Like, they just gonna go straight to bat. They're not worried about, well, how does she dress? How does she act? How does she is she of any value to me? Like, what does she do for me? What does she do for black men? You know what I mean? Like, it's true.
I see that all the time. Black men who are attracted to me are nice to me, and it depends on how I wear my hair. But black men who see me, because I'm big, you know what I'm saying? I'm a big girl, and so they see that as less feminine, and so they're not gonna look me in the eye, you know what I'm saying? But based on how like I wear my hair, my makeup, and stuff like that, I know what type of black men are gonna speak to me or look me in the eye or be kind to me. And if I want to be invisible to black men, I'm gonna wear my hair very natural. I'm not going to dress sexy. I'm gonna dress maybe more conservative, because that way, I know, like, one, I'm not going to be bothered, and then two, like, I'm just really out here protecting myself because I'm not an asset.
Exactly. Are you an asset to me?
To me, it sounds like, I guess because I don't really have that issue where I'm just like, I don't like you based on your, you know what I'm saying? I don't really have that. But to me, it sounds like internalized self-hatred, to be honest. But the reality is, everything you guys are saying is absolutely true. But the other reality is that niggas are sensitive, and as soon as am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
So the other reality is niggas are sensitive. So what a sensitive person does and this is the whole thing I drive, and I know, like you said the other day on our group call, people are in the chat like, yo, why does Ronnie respond like that? Because I see the bigger picture. I'm not looking at one room in the house and saying we have a flood in the house. I don't have time to argue with you over how to fix this flood, when if we don't fix this flood, the rest of the house floods.
Right.
I don't have time to go back and forth with niggas about who's right and who's wrong. It's all fucked up. We need to come together and get a fucking plan together, right? It takes so much humility to say, I understand. I don't like how you said that shit to me, but I understand what you said, right? And then it takes another part to be humble enough to say, all right, I don't like how you treat me, but I'm going to try to say it to you this way.
Right.
Everybody wants to be fucking right.
Right.
Everybody's right.
Right.
Okay? But the communication between what we're doing and what we're going for, they don't fucking match up.
Right. Well, and we talked off air, and I told you that what your viewpoint on that is absolutely correct. It's just there's different ways to go about it. So like if we were all on a group project and me and Steph we're not cool and we're beefing because she felt like I offended her, the group project won't get done because of our interaction. Bingo. So what needs to be done for us to work better cohesively as a community or as a group, we got to fix what we got going on first.
Facts.
And then that will then flow to everybody else, because she gonna talk to you. Oh man, I don't like how Rob talked to me, and then you gonna look at me some kind of way, and I might talk to Alika and be like, Steph over the trip.
But what they tell us is that instead of fixing, what we got between us, they say, well, this is more important, so we'll get to that later.
Right.
And I'm like, black women is kind of like, well, we ain't willing to wait no more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's the thing. Black women shouldn't have to wait anymore, right? But then black women also have to understand that, like we talked about when you were on 6, these niggas have been conditioned to be this way.
Yeah.
Okay? So as frustrating as it is,
well, and to hate themselves.
And bingo, that's why I said it's self-hatred.
Yeah.
Right? It's self-hatred.
Yeah.
I think in my unpacking group, there's a certain consciousness level of white people that I can't work with. So there's a
like some of it is just
so we have levels in our group. You got the unpacking white feminism, that's for white women that are very victimized and stuff like that, or victimize themselves. And then there is my group, which is the allies group, which is a level 5, where I talk so honest to white people. I told them, white people enjoy seeing black people suffer. You like to see us get killed by the police. That's your sadistic nature ingrained in you by your ancestors, and it still plays out. So these are the hard kind of, but that's a certain level of maturity that requires to engage with me.
Right.
And so I think, and this is just me, I think that black men maybe have more patience with each other than I can with certain black men. This is the first group of black men that I have sat in I would say ever, where I felt like my voice was heard, where I felt like my femininity was not being questioned, where I felt like my sexuality, where I could come and be who I am and be brilliant, and I don't got to dumb down, where I don't feel threatened. Like, that's why I'm so down for the Reverb Nation, because these spaces just don't exist. And black men can do that work with other black men, and then maybe when that consciousness level, when that vibration is raised, then they can maybe engage with black women on a level that I think will help them start to unpack their stuff. Or another black man.
I think that we have to have I think that if we have those conversations with black men, I think we have to have. So, Focus and I we can have these conversations all day, right? This is what we do. Especially if I don't like something, right? I'm on his head. Right, because that's what I feel like my point of reference is, right? And I've been using him for years to kind of balance when I'm upset about anything. I don't care if I'm in a relationship or work or whatever. I'm like, yo, this is what I'm going through, right? If we're introducing this concept to other men, right, then I feel like the presence of black women has to be there. Because she has to be able to have that conversation there, and I think the translation has to. Because you're right.
I would disagree with that.
Because it's important for it's important.
I would disagree with that because and
it could be harmful.
I don't want to. I don't want to cut you off. I think like if we were having a one-on-one conversation, even if I'm telling you the complete truth, exactly what you need to hear, exactly what it is, exactly what needs to happen for our community to win. If you're not at the level of maturity to receive it, it doesn't matter who says it.
Yeah, that's my first point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because and I think you bringing in another person in there, like a strong personality, like like Elika or like Steph, it would go left extremely because, like you said, niggas are sensitive because niggas are sensitive.
Because it hurts.
Yeah, they would upset you.
Well,
and
niggas are sensitive, so don't matter. But so before anything comes out of their mouths, it's already. I'm defensive because I feel like I already know where this is gonna go.
Yep.
I already can see where this is about to be. I see the head nodding. I see the attitude about to come out, right? And then they feel like, and just like what you were saying earlier, that depending on how their childhood was, if they were raised maybe by a single black mother, that might bring up some resentment. That they're like that. The very first reference that I have to a woman
is my mom
was that because she did not want me to be like my dad, that she was tougher on me, and I don't want to have to deal with anything negative that a black woman has to say because I heard it too much growing up. And I'm not saying that's all men. I'm saying that could be some reference of trauma.
But that is the reality of this. Is what I meant by like the matriarchy. It's not our fault. But it is that. Big Mama had the fucking last say. Big Mama was the family reunions. Right. Yo, when grandma dies, if next grandma doesn't step up, the family disperses.
Yeah.
That's the glue.
Crumbles.
You understand what I'm saying? That's the glue.
Yeah.
Right? It was supposed to be.
You said it before, that black women are, a lot of black men, that's their disciplinary.
That is. That's a discipline.
It's true for
me.
You
said the coldest thing
I
on
have
the
to
last
think
show.
about, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I have to think about that. Before you switch, I have to think about that when I'm disciplining my son.
You said that
because he's very sensitive. And I can't talk to him like he a nigga.
Hey, that's real.
I tried it once.
Come on.
He was like, "How could you say that?"
I am hurt to my core. No, for
you know
real.
what I'm saying? Like, and I be thinking, like he's gonna have a visceral reaction, right? Because one, I'm strong toned, but he's still a little kid.
Right.
But I'm the one that's taking care of him, so I have to be disciplinary and mom.
Right.
You gotta play all those roles. That's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility.
I don't want to be.
And let me explain to you why that's so important. Masculinity can only bestow masculinity. So if there's not a man, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a man, I'm just saying
right.
Just
his
general.
dad, he spends time with his dad, but he's with
you majority.
With me.
Right. So if a man or a boy is always looking for validation from another man, and if that is ever questioned or compromised, I'm going to be extra sensitive because what I'm guarding is
my masculinity.
Is the question of, am I man enough? Am I strong enough? Am I good enough to provide, to protect?
Why?
And if that's ever questioned, I'm attacking.
Why? Because we are
that's who I'm
to,
built to be.
Because from date out the womb, we are in competition. Sports, we're in competition in school.
I'm just saying, your inner being as a man.
I'm just saying, but it's
hey, we got a little black boy here. Let's ask him. Why don't y'all ask him some questions?
Ask him that question.
Come here, Eldra.
Every boy asks that question of. We'll ask him.
Come on, Eldra.
Go
they
ahead,
want to
sit
ask
over.
you some questions. Just forgive his hairline. We in COVID.
Hey, I had the COVID beard for the longest, and I did not want to record or be on camera.
I'm gonna ask you some questions.
I look like Anthony Hamilton the other day.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right, we're gonna ask. We're gonna ask the question. I don't want to get too personal.
He'll tell you
How does it? Okay. What is your vision, or what do you think a man should be?
A man should be a man that is rich and should get a castle.
Okay.
7.
So you think that a man should provide and that he should have a house? So for what? For his family?
Well, technically for ladies.
For
ladies?
ladies. Okay.
All
See,
right.
there you go.
All right. So look. No, we got
No. So here's the next question. So when do you feel the most like a man?
When I see my girlfriend.
Ooh.
See?
Okay. When you see
So-
the
You know about this
I
girlfriend?
ain't got no gun.
Look, you know about this girlfriend?
What's her name?
Aaliyah Vincent.
Oh, got the name and all.
She was
Okay.
ready.
Jesus.
Hey, you said you was ready for these
Her
questions.
face ain't ready for the questions, no.
Okay. What do you like about being a black boy?
It's fun. I have cousins. But it feels to be funny.
You got a question?
Fun like a black boy is most of all I get to see my family. I get to see my mom. I don't like to see my brother. I like to see my brother.
So I have really simple questions. I'm gonna show you what I was just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to be the fastest or the slowest?
Fastest.
Why?
Because if you rush, then you.
I'm just talking about in a race. In a race, is it better?
Oh, in a race.
Is it better to be the faster or the slowest?
It's better to be the faster, but when you like wait right there, when you're like slower,
Mm-hmm.
you wait right there for the other kids to run right past you. Then you keep going, but then you're super slow.
Mhm.
They already passed the finish line.
And then so do you win or lose?
Nope.
Do you win or if you're the fastest? Do you win or lose?
Win.
So is it better to be the strongest or the weakest?
Strongest.
Is it better to have more money or less money?
More money.
You said you wanted a castle.
So
You got to have money for a castle.
But this is how we think, right? Is it better to have more toys or less toys?
Probably less toys because I like video games.
So you rather let's step up. So let me ask you another question. When you have a bike, do you want your bike to be the best bike out of all your friends?
Well, my friend already has a good bike that's bigger than mine, but I got a bigger bike.
Mm-hmm.
So
does it make you feel better when you have a bigger bike or a better bike? It does? Yes or no?
kind of.
Okay, I got. We'll do two more questions,
Go ahead.
and then we'll let. I know he wants to probably go ahead and play. Question for you, sir. How would you feel if I told you that you're not man enough?
So if you told me I was not man enough.
Okay, no. Actually, no. Let me change that. What if your mom told you that you're not man enough and that you need to get stronger? How would that make you feel?
Probably the belt.
The belt? You think
spank
that'll
you.
be discipline?
You think
How would it?
I'm
No.
talking about me getting the belt.
Yeah. But so how would that make you feel? Would that make you feel mad? Would that make you feel sad, angry?
It will make me feel mad, sad, angry, all angry.
Ask him this. How do you feel when girls laugh at you?
What?
Yeah, how do you
How do
feel
you
like
feel
when
when
girls
girls
make
laugh?
like when they make fun of you? How does it feel when girls make fun of you?
Well, one time when I was at school, a girl picked me up and dropped me on the concrete. And so I told on her, and so I stick my tongue at her, and I'm like, I wanted to put the middle finger up at her.
Oh, so you were
Ooh,
mad.
So you're upset.
I wanted to give her a piece of my fist right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched a video that a little girl stands up to a 7-year-old and beats him in the face with the book.
Mm.
And so it was kind of like that, but I didn't like that.
So my next question is very simple. And is it okay for a boy to fight back when a girl hits him?
No, because if you hit a girl, then you can either go to jail or either get detention.
Even if your life is on the line.
Yes.
Good. There you go. Hold on.
Hey, high five.
How do you like having a black mom?
You better
Having
love
a
it.
black mom is fun. You know, she won't buy me a video game.
A video game?
How could you?
Jesus Christ.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Hey,
sir.
what video
Thank-
game? What video game do you want? Oh,
Buy me a PS5.
Oh, you need the whole system.
I can buy you a video game, but
Oh,
I can't
yes,
buy
thank-
you the PS5. I'll buy you a video game for participating.
PS4?
No, that's your mama's job.
Xbox?
Don't you already have that?
Mm-mm.
Oh gosh,
We
we
gonna
have to have some conversations.
We gonna talk
with
later.
Mom
We
off
gonna
the
talk
business.
later.
You love Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah. I also love some nice white people.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I know
Thank you,
you.
sir.
I know
Yes,
you're
baby.
educated far beyond most 7-year-olds
Yes,
from your household.
already.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
hold on. We go.
Clap up,
Get a clap up. Get a clap
That's
up.
real.
That's fire, bro.
That is fire. And you've done a wonderful job with your
Oh,
son.
thank you.
Thank
Man,
you.
he's articulate.
You can talk.
Yes.
No,
he
but
can talk.
but you know what's interesting is how he feels right now at 7 is the same feeling that most of us feel at 35.
Well, and you see that the first question was that being a man was tied to
Money,
money
power, and a big
being
house.
able to get a house and being
and
able
for,
to provide
for who? For the ladies.
for the ladies,
It
right?
amazes me how that is ingrained in him as such
At
a
7.
young, no matter, and like he lives with I'm a black liberation feminist. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I believe in black liberation for black people, and I
Right.
believe in black feminism because I'm a black woman.
Right.
So he's around positive images of black men and black women. I feel like in the most progressive way.
Right.
But he's still, because his dad is like going to be 50 next year.
Right.
So he has an older influence of like that. His dad is married, so they have that very kind of patriarchal
Yeah.
household, and so that's what he sees.
Right.
But you
Yeah.
know
So-
what else he sees though when he's in school. He's those are his influences because that's where he's going to get the interaction with the other boys.
Right. But again, that's what I was saying prior to is as a young boy, not even a young boy, even an adolescent, even a teenager, even a 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, that internal drive to be the provider, to have money, to be successful, if that's ever questioned, then if you are tying your masculinity
What do you mean
to,
by ever question? Like, I didn't understand. What
yeah,
you
I'm
meant
gonna
by
I'm gonna
that.
get to that. So
Okay, well, you beat me to it, fine.
if that's ever questioned, if you're tying your ability to be a man
As
to
a
money
provider,
or
money.
or a house, and then if you ever question that line of thinking, then automatically it's like
It's
if 2
defensive
plus 2
mode.
equals 4.
It's defensive
So
mode.
if I'm not rich and if I don't have a house,
So
I'm
when
not
we
a
say
man.
Y'all are hurting us. That equates to us.
I'm not a man.
That you're not a man because
Facts.
you're supposed to be the provider.
Provider,
You're
And a
protector.
protector, exactly.
This is
So
what-
that's
this
why
is-
it gets defensive
this is-
because again, or like when a black woman calls a black man broke, oh, you broke, blah 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 blah. You can't even afford me a Birkin
don't
bag.
let her don't
Then
don't
it's-
let her call him the B word.
Again, then it's the attacking thing, or like that, or you're emotional because then the social construct of a man is supposed to be somebody that's not emotional, that's a provider, that's a protector.
And
then
it's- and
again, it
So we
comes
basically
across.
saying you're not doing part of your job, and y'all defensive.
And whoa.
Yeah, no, but
Because we-
but you
because
have to
then it's
understand
internal
why.
questioning.
I didn't understand why.
but
We're
I don't
questioning
understand
the
where the
whole
fragility was.
manhood.
because this is like I said, like you have to go back to like what we talked about last time. You really have to go back to and you have to break down the psychology of where they come from. Granted, it's not
No.
it's not conducive to a healthy relationship as a grown man. And that's why I asked that question and the last time we were together was at what point do we expect young men who think like that to turn over and be
Right.
like, this is now what I need to be.
Right.
But that's something that we got to do.
And that's our job.
That's
Because I
something we gotta
asked
do.
him, how does he feel when girls make fun of him? Because he loses his shit.
Hates it, huh?
But that's why. Because you're questioning
Already?
your masculinity. Yes.
Yes.
Because as a boy,
Because you're already trying to.
You're already
appeal
trying to be the toughest.
Oh, he's
you gotta
like
fight.
man's
You gotta
man.
wrestle.
Like
You-
Come on, man.
because he wants to be like his father. Because
Yeah.
again,
his dad is tough, you know. But his dad is gentle. Like you see the gentle side.
Yeah.
Like, he's very kind. That's his dad. Like his
Right.
dad is very kind, but his dad is also like man's man. You know.
exactly.
But his
and
dad also said, if my son, and I never heard a black man say this, he said, if my son ever came to me and said that he was gay, he said, I will tell my son that I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I think, I'm thankful for that side of his dad that'll be ingrained in him, like no matter who my son is. But it's still like so much.
But you know what just that statement is an advantage to his life that most people. So
that he'll be accepted no matter what.
That
bingo.
He won't be looking for validation
because the validation has already come from his father.
Which again, that's why I said masculinity can only bestow masculinity. So what his father is saying, that whatever it is you depend on, or whatever it is you end up being, you're good enough.
Good.
And I love you no matter who it is.
He doesn't look for validation from his dad.
But
I thought that was weird.
No, my son, man, I'm so involved in my son's life that he could lose a football game and he doesn't care that he lost. All he wants to talk about is the tackles he made.
No, my son be lying. He be like, I won, the team lost. but he doesn't care how his dad feels about it.
So
you know?
if we bring it back to what I was just saying,
that's good.
Women are not being protected properly, right? And men feel like there's a way they like to be communicated with, right? The problem is when they say that, then you get in the comments, y'all being emotional, defensive, yada, yada, yada. And you know what that does? Shut down. And then it's just like an enemy in your house, man. Like it's hard to protect the person robbing you. And if you're robbing them of their masculinity, it's hard for him to turn around and be like, even though he knows you're right. That's probably what hurts so much.
Right. Well, and really what it really boils down to, and, I know we're all have been people of faith or know of what, the Bible says, is God lays it right there. He said, men need to be respected and women need to be understood. Yep. And when you feel like you're being disrespected, then it's hard to then be in an understanding mode, or vice versa. When you don't feel like you're being understood or being heard, then it's hard to be respectful. Because for me, like, I know when I'm not being heard, my voice level gets high. Because I'm like, if you're not hearing me, then maybe I need to raise my voice a little bit. You know what I mean?
You know what?
And then, but then, like, in certain situations, but I had to realize when I'm doing that, that's not getting my message across better. It's just I'm being louder, and then the other person is going to shut down because then I'm yelling. So it's like, okay, I got to make sure that what I'm trying to portray is in a way where I could be understood. And I think both people on both sides got to do a better job of being respectful, but being understood. But again, as black men, we have to understand when people are dying, when people feel like they're being oppressed,
something got to change. It's not going to come out how you want it.
The message may not come across as the most.
It's called tone policing. It's called tone policing.
Yeah.
Black men do it to black women just the same way white people tell us, like, there's an appropriate way for you
to express
your
respond
to your oppression.
So
and if you do it any other way, I'm not going to.
So this is the grander scheme that I've been trying to get us to fucking talk about for 12 episodes. This conversation. This is the grand scheme. This is where we find, okay, now we've located the flood. Now how the hell do we put it out together? Because if we don't, it's only going to progressively get worse.
I think for me personally, I just look to, black men like my husband and stuff like that, because I feel like these are the men that I know that I could come to, that I feel like I could be heard. And again, I feel like I'm dependent on y'all to hold each other accountable, because I feel like it's not my job, or I shouldn't have to go through, like you said, it is very taxing and exhausting to have to take on this from black men. Like, I don't feel like it's my job. I feel like it's y'all job.
You're absolutely right.
We feel like it's our job too.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like it's my job to go out and preach to black men and how they, you know what I mean?
Look how much more mature we are. As much as we joke and we bullshit and we go through all these petty battles and whatnot. Me and Rob, you watched us. We had a whole disagreement and we never yelled at each other, because that's where we are. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I did yell a little bit.
Oh, I didn't. Did you? I didn't feel like you yelled.
I felt like I did.
But look, that's my tolerance, though, right? I didn't feel like you yelled. So it takes me to understand, and I know that's a man, right? If I say the wrong thing to him, he's gonna fight me. It doesn't matter how calm he thinks he is. I could get in his face and he'll push me back, and then he'll excite. You know what I'm saying? And then it's a snowball effect.
Well, you know what? I would disagree with that, because I have so much respect for you, and I think that is where black men have to do the work. Is that for me, and I could just be honest, I did not really respect what women went through until I had a daughter. And I think it's because it was more close to me. And I think even in my whole just evolution as a black man living in America. You're not taught to love yourself. You're not taught to love being black. You're not taught to love your skin.
Either.
You're not taught to love your hair. You're not taught to love your speech. I had to get to a point where I loved myself, and then I could then better respect black women, because I see Steph as a sister.
Facts.
Because we share the same things in common.
Facts.
I see Elika as a sister because we share what same things in common. But if I don't love me and if I don't love my skin, I don't look at Steph as a sister.
Facts.
I don't look at her as a sister.
Facts.
I look at her as an asset or something that I can get something from sexually, right? That's how most men look at women. I just need you for one thing. Spread your legs and that's it.
And
Or
don't say
clean,
nothing.
whatever.
Don't say nothing to me after that.
But when you start respecting yourself, then it starts to you start respecting other people. And when you have a daughter, you look at things in a totally different perspective, because you're like, dang, like I'm thinking about things she's gonna have to deal with that I never had to think about, that I had to deal with, because as a man, you don't look at it from her perspective or from their perspective. You look at it from your perspective. But as a father now, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to worry about her going out with her friends. I'm gonna have to worry about her even getting in an Uber. I'm gonna have to worry about her going off to college. I'm gonna have to worry about whatever job she's at, that she's gonna be able to be protected, or somebody will be able to speak for her when she's not getting treated fairly. I can't be there when she's there, so I have to do what I can do to prepare her for it while she's still in my house. But at some point in time, I won't be there. So when I look at that, I'm like, well, if I'm thinking about that for my own daughter, what has Steph been through? What has Elika been through? What has my mom been through? And if I'm not speaking up for them, then I'm doing a disservice for them, because there may be a man in the household that may have been able to be there like I am for my daughter.
Facts.
And that's where I get so much passion for
Facts.
for other black women, because it's like, if this was back in the day, if this was Africa, we would be all one tribe, and we would look at everybody like it's all one family.
Facts.
I wouldn't look at her as an individual,
Facts.
you as an individual, her as an
Facts.
individual. That's family. And if you ain't speaking up for them, then again, who are you speaking up for? And if you see yourself in the mirror, you're more willing to respect somebody else, because again, I know where you come from, because I come from the same cloth. So we all got to think about it like that as a community. But with capitalism, it breeds us to be individuals, because we're like, I got to get in while I can, and I can't help you right now, and maybe later I might, but right now I got to do what I got to do, and you're going to hurt my chances of getting a piece of the pie. That's where I hate capitalism so much.
This is really healing to hear, just because like I was thinking about what you said about, like, you're very lucky to have black men that you feel protected by, because a lot of, like, I don't have that. You know, I have a brother. He's from St. Thomas, he's like my adoptive brother. But like, if some shit really went down where I really needed somebody to protect me, I would not be calling a black man.
And that's
I actually don't know who I would call.
We light this bitch up for stuff.
And I think about, like, a lot of my anger and frustration is because I've been so rejected by black men, when all I've tried to do is, like, be a good sister, be a good mom, be a good friend. And I never felt like my femininity was enough. I never felt beautiful enough for black men, because I would see black men just dog my mom, dog my sisters out, dog my friends out. You know, I got brothers, like I saw my brother dog my homegirl out so bad, cheated on her while she was getting an abortion. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then to hear black men say, you don't love us. Like, you don't love us because of what you're saying. Like, that shit hurts me so bad. And then for them to be backed up with black women who say, like, Elika, you don't like black men. What the fuck am I supposed to feel?
Bingo. I tell people, look, listen.
That's it right there.
But that's the history.
That's
listen,
it.
Because that is the history. That is the history. The reason why, and again, if you can't have these conversations, because I wouldn't know that about you, right? I would have just, if I'm somebody that can't handle this conversation, then you guys to me would just be like, you guys are just bashing men, right? So, and vice versa, vice versa. If you guys don't have a relationship with me, then I'm just bashing women. You understand what I'm saying? And so this is why I push such a hard fucking line for understanding and the communication, because it doesn't matter. I'm gonna tell you, at some point, it doesn't matter who's fucking right if nothing's changing.
That's true. That's true.
If we still hurt,
if it doesn't matter, you can
right.
yell that I'm right at the top of your lungs forever, right? But we have to keep doing this,
Yes.
Right? We have to keep doing this.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's just not easy for us, because you have stories about being hurt, and these guys have stories about being hurt. I got a cousin right now who hates women, like all women, because he was raped by his babysitter when he was 8. So
yeah,
everybody's got a story.
Yeah,
that they go through,
and just seeing just Elika in tears. I mean, I was tearing up myself.
Like, I damn near started crying, so I stopped talking.
Just seeing those, like, that's hurtful. And for you to be a human and not be able to connect with that emotion is like, you have to be able to connect with that emotion.
Well, it makes you a wall.
And like, I want to say it was episode 6. I'm not too sure what episode, but somebody asked me a question that changed my whole life. They said, ask a woman, has she ever been touched inappropriately ever in her life? And he said, you would be surprised at what you get and what kind of answer you get. And when I started asking that question, every single woman that was close to me told me a story of some time where they felt they were unsafe and they were touched inappropriately. And it was all by, obviously, majority of it was men.
Right.
And it's like, so when we say, like, on the other side of things as men, we say, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're doing too much. Or, oh, you acting out. But you never get the backstory of why. And you never ask the question of, well, where did that come from?
Right.
Because we're so busy on judging the action we see
right here,
instead of asking, okay, why? And it's like, but then when you start getting those backstories, you're like, dang, like, okay, now I see why.
Because the the reason why, like you said, we are so... We're so reactive.
We are.
We're not proactive. We're so much less proactive than we are reactive. I didn't like this, so this is how I am now, right? Instead of being a person that understands life and people have gone through things, right? And this is what, like, I'm petty as hell when we're playing around, right? But when we have these conversations, like, this is sincere to me, because, you know, I even feel like when I was married, if I would have understood her background, if I would have understood her parents, if I would have understood where she come from,
her story,
there's some things, if I was mature enough to know that I needed to know those things, instead of just saying you need to be married for this reason or that reason, and then falling to the pressure, I would have made different decisions in my life, and I probably would have spared her life. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know those things.
It would have changed how you would have dealt with it.
Oh, bro, I wouldn't even got married.
And people always tell black women they're angry. Like, we're always told, like, we're angry. But nobody cares about us enough to stop and ask us why.
Why? Well, and we had that conversation in our group and in some of the meetings. I said that, or on that group post, I said, what I'm seeing here is that we're more concerned with the what, or with what's being said, and not why it's being said. And I said, and if we want true healing, and if the goal is for all of us to liberate black people and for us to get rid of white supremacy, first we need to heal within.
Because we can't fight a war. We can't fight a war outside. A kingdom divided against itself shall not stand.
Absolutely. That
is not. It may or may not make it. The Bible says shall, bro. Yeah. That is a definite. That is a definite. That it is written that if we are always divided and we're always in division, we're never gonna beat white supremacy.
Exactly.
We're never.
And you can't put some of the issues on the back burner for the bigger picture, because those issues have to be resolved if we're going to
get to the bigger picture.
Period.
Right.
So you can't say, like, oh, well, yeah, I know, within the fight that other people are going through things, but those things have to go on the back burner for right now. No, we got to address that.
We got to normalize. We got to normalize holding people accountable for what they do, instead of sweeping it under the rug and just
because in our community there's no consequences.
No, exactly.
For harming black women. I always said, like, I wish that there was a course on communication. Now, I'm a communications expert. I've gone to a lot of therapy to learn how to find my words, because they've been stuffed down so far in me from being silenced as a child and as a black woman in my community. I would love a communications course on how black people can better communicate with each other.
Let's do it.
I don't think it exists, but like
we can
that would be so, because our language is so layered.
Yeah.
We have our African American vernacular English is genius.
It is.
it could be 4 letters and mean a whole statement.
Facts.
It could be a
Like
nod
that,
and mean, you know, a whole event has happened. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Lit.
And
Or one phrase could mean 4 different things depending on where you
Right.
live.
Right, or the context, the
and how you
tone.
tilt your head, you
Right,
know what I'm
everything,
saying?
body
Like
language,
the
so
color,
many
you know what I'm
different-
saying?
Uh-huh.
Like our stuff is so complex that
It
we don't
is.
have like basic communication rules
Right.
on how to communicate with each other, and it's hard for us to talk about stuff.
It is.
I got people that don't want to, that will probably never talk to me no more,
Right.
and I got some people will never talk to him.
gotta
Well,
think
you-
You
about
know,
it.
with black men, like for me, it's like I've done so much where I've had to build myself back up, like my self-esteem, you know, my courage, how I feel about my body, like all those things.
And now you have to protect that.
And now I have to protect. And so they're like,
That
well,
makes
you
sense.
hate us.
Yep.
No, I just, same way I can't let certain white people in here
Right.
because they can't see me.
I don't let them in.
And
Knock, knock.
No, you gotta protect yourself.
You gotta protect
it's
yourself.
the same thing where you know it's kind of like that. How they say you can forgive, but you know don't forget.
Facts.
It's like I still ain't forgot how I got where I was, and I'm
Yeah.
not getting back there, and
I'm
I'm not
not.
allowing you to come in my
can't let you
space.
run my
And like
shit.
boundaries with black
Steph,
men,
bro,
because
preach
we're
it.
raised in single parent households, like I'm constantly reinforcing my boundaries with my son. Like sometimes you can't just jump on me. Sometimes you have to ask me for a hug.
I got
You
you.
know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
got you.
bars.
That's
Well,
real.
Hey,
well-
Steph said last week, before we wrap
No,
up,
go ahead.
because Steph said last week, she talked about the discipline thing about men whooping their daughters, right?
Oh, yeah, that was a
So-
bar, yeah.
So every I play fight with my kids all the time. Like we like kick each other and stuff. It's hilarious, right? But all last week, instead of like raising my voice at her, I just made her do wall squats.
I heard
Right.
about that.
So
I've seen it.
I did wall squats, and I feel like because I shared a text message from her on my page. I don't know if you guys saw it, but she'll like text me and she'll check in on me at work and stuff because that's the nature of
Your relationship.
our relationship, right? We have such a good relationship that she'll text me and she's like, "Yo, you didn't come home at this time. Where you at?" Right? And she's only 7, right? So. But I feel like that took so much. That, like you said, the way I communicate with her is a lot different than the way I communicated with her mother. And you know what I'm saying, 8-9 years ago, because having
compassion.
because having a daughter, right, and then self-reflecting on all the stuff that I did in that time when I was with her, it made me not want to put my daughter. It made me want to give my daughter a better example of what a man was supposed
And
to
what
be.
healthy communication
Right.
is.
So when you said that yesterday, I was like, that's another area. Instead of yelling at her and making, you know what I'm saying, I could change into reaffirming that, yo, you messed up and you got to pay the consequences for this.
Right.
But then I didn't have to change my tone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then so it
Yeah.
showed her that it wasn't. Rather than her accepting me being yelled at or fussed at, right?
Right.
It's like, all right, cool. Because I don't want to normalize that for you. Because that's what you put in my head.
Because I tell people sometimes all the time, like, my dad don't even yell at me. Why I'm gonna let you stand up in my
That's
face
what I be
yelling
tell-
at me?
Like, my
But-
dad never talked to me like that. You can't
know what
talk
I mean?
to me like that.
But if they do, I mean, it's kind of normal. Like if I did something that my dad didn't like, that I'm gonna get yelled at or cussed at or however talk too crazy. That's the norm. But for me, that ain't the norm. I'm like, my dad is gonna talk to me normal. He's gonna lecture me or
My
whatever.
dad was
But
so
he would
smart.
never
Like,
get
my
at me
dad was
crazy.
highly intelligent. He was a genius. My father was a genius. Worked for NASA. Like my dad was hella smart. He
My daddy
spoke
was a
to me
crackhead.
well beyond
First.
my. He wasn't perfect. My dad had an anger problem. He never yelled at me. I think I can remember twice when my dad yelled at me. He didn't spank me. My mama said she wished she would have. But I don't think that would have been good for me. Like have a man beat me. I don't know. And so like my dad. He just had like a way of communicating. He was very direct because he was in the military. He was very direct. And so sometimes I find like with men, because my dad was direct with me, I could be direct back with my dad. It's off-putting to men sometimes.
You know why?
Because how dare I speak to you like a man?
Right.
It's not that. It's even deeper than that. It's not so much you speaking to him as a man. It like you said earlier. It invokes the relationship if they had a single mom, or so on and so forth. These niggas live on eggshells. That's what you have to.
But I think what you're trying to say, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think we have to understand that everybody comes from a different background.
Facts.
So if you grew up in a house where your mom was more docile, where she did
That's
not
what you
speak
expect
back
from
to her
a-
dad or
mhm.
to your dad, and she was kind of more soft around him, then you're thinking, oh, that's how a woman
women are.
interacts with a man. So when you come off more direct, it's like,
Who is this
What?
girl? Yeah.
you talking to who like that?
Who are you? You know what
And
I'm
it's
saying?
like, because that their first reference of a woman
Is their
was
mom.
their mother, and she might have been more soft.
And if you have an aggressive mother and you were afraid of your mom, when you see that aggression side, then that sets you off.
Or
It's
you
triggered.
might be able to be okay with it. Like my mom,
Like I'm saying,
she's very direct. So like
men
when
who
people
have
are talking,
direct moms, like who had mothers or they had whatever the communication style was.
Right.
It was direct because my mother was in the medical field. She was
Right.
a nurse. There was no time for bullshit.
Right.
Because it was life and death situations. Get
Right.
your ass in the tub, get out, go to
Right.
bed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's no argument. And then my dad being in the military, they were very direct people. They didn't
Right.
beat around the bush. And I feel like, am I the only kid who grew up with parents who didn't mince their words?
no,
And then, but I've also had to learn something, that compassion for Black people has to be taught. That I was not, it was not something that was ingrained in me. That I have to learn intentionally how to love Black people. That includes knowing that everybody can't take what I dish out in the way that I dish it out.
and that's where the
And
maturity comes in.
Intention.
That's-
That's the word
Oh,
right there. Intentionally.
You do have to intentionally. You have to intentionally make a conscious decision that, yo, I'm gonna listen to this and I'm gonna stick it through and I'm gonna make the adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And most people, like we said earlier, are just not mature enough
To have that
to,
conversation.
not even just mature enough
Or
to have
take
the
accountability.
or to even implement it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
That's true.
how people procrastinate on the most important things in their own lives.
That's true.
Right? So how dare us expect somebody to jump on a horse for us today?
Exactly.
Right? And they don't care about themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's just a whole bunch of understanding that goes into, like I said, man, you changed my life. Well, you did, because it made me think a little bit different. But a lot of men will hear that segment and then they're gonna just go about their way of life.
Well,
yeah, they're not going to,
and that's
true.
why I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation, because like what Elika just pointed out just a couple minutes ago, I think people are going to hear this, and I think it is going to have a healing effect on just, we can sit down and have a mature, open conversation where it's respectful and it's not nobody getting in their feelings and feeling like that they're being attacked or feeling like that they're being demeaned or not heard. So I appreciate everybody on the panel, on the circle, on the whatever you
We're a
want to
panel.
call it, on the
We're a
table.
panel now.
Hey, hey,
table talk.
look, we just talked about upgrading the resume, okay? So you can put on the resume you was on the Reverb panel. All right? So, but this was a very important conversation that I will remember for the rest of my life, and I will be marking episode 12 as just a transformative conversation that we can get to a point where we're all on the same team. With that being said, I would like to thank Elika Bernard for
Hell
coming
yeah.
back on
Thank
the
you.
podcast.
And allowing us to touch her and her feelings.
Yes.
Don't you tell nobody I cried.
Almost
That
had
It's too
me
late. We
tearing
gonna
up.
show it on video.
shed one thug tear. It was one.
We do got video, too.
Oh
I
man.
had to hold it in.
So
You
with
were
all
gonna
that
cry?
positivity, we're going to
do
get on
cry.
to the last
Steph said she
last
cried.
segment of the day.
Oh, he's trash.
We are going to get on to Ronnie's trash segment.
So I want to do a double trash as fuck today. You can look. I'll let you look. It's my first one.
Okay.
My first trash as fuck is John Mattingly. You guys know who he is? He's the first officer to rush into Breonna Taylor's house.
Oh, he's already trashed already, but go ahead and tell us
He's
why.
the guy who got shot.
So what did he say?
He said that if, what's his name, Kenneth?
Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker
Mm-hmm.
was the reason why Breonna Taylor died.
Mm-hmm.
He said that
Keep it going.
He said that the intent to protect his household with a registered, legally owned firearm on a botched police mission with the shot fired is the reason why Breonna Taylor was interrogated.
What else did he say?
He also said that they don't racial profile.
No.
Police don't racial profile.
They don't.
They criminal profile.
Criminal
You know
profile.
how they criminal profile? because they go into these low-income areas and they can tell by your body language. And it's, what did he say, a feeling?
It's a feeling.
He said it's a feeling that they can
That
tell.
feeling is called racism.
That feeling is called racism.
Like, where have I heard this before?
This nigga is trash.
Wow.
Michael Strahan sat next to him and he said, I can't sit next to you and listen to you say this bullshit.
Wow.
Right? So he's blaming Kenneth Walker, doesn't want to take accountability. He said that, you know, he doesn't have a criminal, police don't racial profile. But then he described racial profiling.
Basically.
And
Racism perfectly.
So I just wanted to keep Breonna Taylor's name alive on this segment.
God.
And also,
Who's the second?
come on,
Hold
man.
on, let me get that one.
Yeah.
Who's the second?
It's your man, Uncle Ruckus,
Oh, here we go.
Coon Daddy.
Oh, here we
my
go.
God.
You know what I'm saying? Him and Terry Crews might as well be brothers.
They're brothers.
Oh, no.
Jason Whitlock.
Jason
Bring your
Whitlock, get him
trash
outta
ass here.
Ooh, I forgot about
Listen,
him.
I didn't even get to see the mention in the Reverb Nation group. These were just my two genuine picks. And then G Focus said you should go look at what they said. So let's give you what he did. He had an interview with Donald Trump, and he basically coached Donald Trump into it saying that Ice Cube endorsed him, Kanye West endorsed him, and 50 Cent endorsed him. You know what he also said? Black men have fraudulently been faking that we don't relate to Donald Trump. But in reality, Donald Trump is everything the black man wants to be.
Just say you relate to Donald Trump and keep it moving.
Nigga, what? Nigga,
There's
what?
a demographic. I mean,
Listen.
there's a
There's a demographic. Of
There
black
is a
men.
demographic, but don't
But
you ever
they-
black
it's
man
not
me on
because
Fox.
They want to be Trump. They just hate
No,
women.
Let me
It's not really about
bingo,
Trump.
So when so they try to use the example of the rappers using Donald Trump. Nigga, we use Trump because he was misogynistic, he was rich as fuck, he didn't like women, and you couldn't tell us shit what to do. Why the fuck would we want that guy to tell us what to do? If this
You
is
ain't lying.
if we have the same feelings, right?
yeah.
Dumb.
It,
There's nothing worse than a white black guy.
nothing worse.
There's nothing fucking worse.
I'm gonna turn up the
You
volume.
can
on the
just
dude.
tell by the way they walk that
Yo, bro, this
The
nigga
hairline.
the hairline.
this nigga said,
It's the, it's
You
the
can
super
see
cut
their
hairline.
socks. You
Hey,
can
this-
always see their socks
this nigga
too.
said, we have to stop hiding our truths because we need you guys to understand that we're getting closer with what we really are.
Ain't no hour. All right.
Hey, Jason Whitlock, you a trash as fuck.
Trash,
Your
and
mom
you
and
get the
dad raised a
booze.
trash individual. Your
mama shoulda
ideology
spit
is
you
trash.
out.
Oh, God.
Stephanie, why would you say that?
All right, y'all. So we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We want to thank Eric Harris for being on. Again, thank Miss Elika Bernard for being on and giving us so much energy up in here. Some good energy, good vibes. For those that are listening at home, the Bible says that you are supposed to protect your heart with all due diligence because all the issues of life flow from it. When it's talking about your heart,
Say it again.
That word heart in the Greek is actually cardia. Cardia talks about your whole inner being, your will, your mind, and your emotions. So you got to do what you got to do to protect you. So that way when you are speaking and interacting with other people that you don't have any toxicity coming out of your mouth.
I'm going to try my best, but
that's
you know
what-
how I am.
I ain't always been saved. I gotta
So-
do that heart work.
So let's work on ourselves
Look, that's
because
what my heart looked like right there.
here we go. If we work on ourselves, if you work on the inside of the cup, then the outside of the cup is automatically already clean. So let's go ahead and do the work.
Whoa, what?
Shout out to Mr. Rajeo for the best heartbreak ever
Yeah,
released
yeah.
on all
Hey.
streaming platforms and doing
Hey.
extremely well.
I appreciate y'all, man, because that thing is going crazy.
Going up.
I didn't think I was this good. You guys
are
made me
good.
feel.
And
You guys
air
made
horn-
me feel dope.
And an air horn for the album release. Please go download it and stream it.
Yeah. All streaming
Ride is my
platforms.
song.
Boy, that's my favorite
How
song.
many times is mine? You know. what
How
I
many
mean?
times is my second favorite
Hey,
song?
man. So we're gonna let y'all go. We appreciate y'all. Please share, like, follow, subscribe the podcast.
Yeah.
We are local. We're not asking for any money, any donations. As
We'll
of yet.
take it though.
But what you can do to support our platform is just sharing it with your friends and family. Make sure you go out to the voting ballots and please vote. And
Yes.
please show up because this is the most important election that
Don't
we
be
have
in our
of
group
lifetime.
talking all that mess about votes and not voting, bruh.
Please
Cause
vote.
let me
Well,
find
you
out.
will
Let
be
me
kicked
find out. 'Cause y'all keep testing me like I won't block you.
You will
I
You
will.
know you will.
Block a Zulu.
block
All right, y'all. So we gonna go out.
Black Akkad.
G Focus signing out. Steph.net, Rajeo, and our special guest host, Elika, signing out. We out.
If you understand, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. If you understand, go.
Thank you.